The younger sister in school is his ardent admirer. Despite her impoverished background, the younger sister in school willingly took on 3 jobs just to move in across from my house. My boyfriend held me as he scolded her. "Can't you stop being so desperate? Isn't it better for a girl to love herself?" Later, the younger sister in school caused a fire by charging her electric scooter at home. My boyfriend was frantic to rush in and save someone, but I held him back with all my strength. As a result, the junior died, and her parents now face massive compensation. 3 years later, my boyfriend and I got married and had a child. Yet, while taking me for a prenatal checkup, he drove off the elevated highway. Today is Weiwei's death anniversary. She's gone, so what right do we have to go on living? After being reborn, when faced with the raging fire across the hall, I no longer stepped forward to stop it. That scumbag and that bitch deserve each other. 1. I woke up choking on the acrid smoke. I lay in bed, opening my eyes and looking around blankly. I realized I was at home, with Shing-sun lying beside me, one arm still around my waist. When I finally processed what was happening, I felt an icy chill run through me. With a slap, she knocked Shing-sun's hand away. Shing-sun frowned and quickly came to his senses. He didn't notice my strangeness, but he did smell the pungent smoke in the air. His face changed drastically, and he quickly rolled out of bed, ready to run outside. "Oh no, the place is on fire, run." He took 2 steps before realizing I was still in the room. He glanced at me awkwardly, then grabbed my hand and ran out together. I was in a daze as he dragged me to the door. Only after seeing the thick smoke in the hallway did I finally confirm that I had been reborn. I was reborn back to the day when Shinwei's house caught fire too. Shinwei is Shing-sun's junior in school, in her senior year. Shinwei was just a freshman, the young girl, just beginning to experience her first stirrings of love, fell for Shing-sun at first sight. From then on, she pursued Shing-sun passionately. One day after class, Shinwei publicly stopped Shing-sun in his tracks and publicly confessed to him, "Senior, I'm Shinwei from the finance department. I've liked you for a long time." Shing-sun was startled, nervously turning his gaze towards me and frantically waving his hands. "Jiqiu, believe me, I don't even know her." The onlookers also started to jeer. "Junior sister, you're quite brave, but Senior Shing here already has a girlfriend. See, this is his girlfriend, the department flower from the next department." "Xia Jiqiu, junior sister, you can't try to steal someone else's boyfriend right in front of them." Any normal person would know to back off in this situation, but Shinwei just wouldn't. With tears in her eyes, she stubbornly raised her plain little face. "Shing-sun, liking you is my business, and it has nothing to do with anyone else, and it has nothing to do with you, either." After saying that, she ran away crying. None of us took this incident to heart. Shing-sun and I were high school classmates. I consistently held the top spot in our grade, and at school assemblies, I was always the one honored on stage. As for Shing-sun, he was always called up to the podium after me, publicly reprimanded in front of the entire school. No one could have ever imagined that Shing-sun would confess his feelings to me. He stood before me, pulling a pink letter from his school uniform pocket. Unfolding it, he began to read, stumbling over his words. Dear Xia Jiqiu." I watched him turn redder and redder, my face expressionless. His brother laughed so hard he couldn't even straighten up. Finally, in a fit of embarrassment and anger, Xingxian crumpled the love letter into a ball and stuffed it into his pocket. He looked me in the eye, gritting his teeth, and said word by word, "Xia Jiqiu, will you be my girlfriend?" "No, why not? I don't like people who get worse grades than me, so if I get better grades than you, will you say yes?" I turned my head and focused on solving the math problems the teacher had left on my draft paper. "Catch up to me first, then we'll talk." From then on, Shing-sun changed his ways. I watched as he moved from 300th in the entire grade to 250th, then to 100th, and finally to the top 30. On the day we submitted our college applications, he copied my choices word for word. In the end, we ended up at the same university, in the same major. At school, everyone knew Shing-sun was head over heels for me, but Shinwei was just too ordinary. Her achievements, looks, and background are all worlds apart from ours. At the time, I thought Shinwei was just an ordinary interlude during my relationship with Shing-sun, but I underestimated Shinwei's determination. 3. Shing-sun and I are seniors now, and we've started our internships. My parents bought me an apartment in this city the year I started university. Once our internships began, Shing-sun and I moved in and rarely went back to campus, but whenever Shing-sun showed up at school, he would inevitably run into Shinwei. Sometimes she would hand Shing-sun a love letter thousands of words long. Other times, she would give him all sorts of gifts. Knowing Shing-sun loved playing ball, she catered to his interest by giving him quite a few pairs of sneakers. Those gifts often cost thousands of yuan apiece. When Shing-sun refused to accept them, she would force them into his hands. As far as I know, Shinwei's family background isn't great. Both her parents are ordinary workers, and she funded her college education with student loans. Fortunately, after graduating, Shungsun rarely returned to school, so Shinwei naturally never encountered him. But no one expected that Shinwei would actually find our address. She paid a fortune in rent to move into the apartment right across from ours. On the day she moved in, Shungsun held me close and cursed at her. "Have you no shame? Don't you have any self-respect as a young woman? Our neighborhood is quite far from the school. It's a half-hour drive." Shinwei bought a second-hand electric scooter for convenience in going to school. To save on electricity costs, she often brought the battery up to her home to charge it. I reminded her many times when I passed by, batteries have a risk of spontaneous combustion, and charging them at home poses a safety hazard. Shinwei just pursed her lips and remained silent. Shungsun glared at her and scolded, "It's all your own doing. You had a perfectly good dorm room and you moved here. You're really sick." Shinwei couldn't hold back and shouted at Shungsun, "Who do you think I'm doing this for? It's all for you. Is it wrong for me to want to see you every day?" As she spoke, she began to cry. She wept with such delicate sorrow, a sight that would move anyone to pity. Shungsun shot back without mercy, "Did I ask you to do this for me? Don't you know I have a girlfriend? Have you no self-respect?" We all thought Shinwei would move out, but she didn't. Not only that, she started cooking for Shungsun at home every single day. I can't cook, so most of the time Shungsun cooks for me, and I do the dishes, or we order takeout together. Unfortunately, the food Shinwei brought over was all thrown away by Shungsun. He lay on the couch, rubbing his temples, and complained to me irritably, "Shinwei is such a lunatic." It's true. Shinwei's obsession with Shungsun was downright crazy. To cover the exorbitant rent and living costs, she worked 3 jobs a day. She was so busy she simply had no time for school. A friend of mine at school told me Shinwei had already been warned multiple times for excessive absenteeism. If this continues, she might not even graduate. For one morning, Shungsun and I were heading to work when we happened to run into Shinwei, who was just getting off her part-time shift at a nightclub. She was wearing a delicate makeup, a tiny tank top, and a short skirt, and was carrying freshly bought soy milk and youtiao in her hand. She glanced at us, then directly handed it to Shungsun, bypassing me. Shungsun had his hands in his pockets the whole time, showing no intention of taking it. Shinwei's hand, suspended in midair, trembled slightly as she forced a smile. "Senior, your stomach isn't good. It's not okay to skip breakfast for a long time." Shungsun gave Shinwei a barely noticeable glance, his expression displeased. "Shinwei, do you even have any shame? What kind of people are in nightclubs? You're always hanging out with those shady characters, and I find your things disgusting." Shungsun finished speaking and left. The words were too harsh, and Shinwei's face turned pale as she bit her lip tightly. I sighed, taking into account Shinwei's young age, and advised, "Shinwei, there are many things in this world besides Shungsun that are worth your effort. You really shouldn't." To my surprise, Shinwei wasn't having any of it. She roughly wiped her tears with her hands and said fiercely, "Don't think I don't know what you're up to. You're just afraid I'll take the senior away from you, aren't you? If you ask me, you're not worthy of him at all." She slammed the door loudly. My best friend said I was missing a brain. Considering Shinwei is my rival, I should be wary of her. Not trying to advise her, I replied while biting the straw, "I just don't want to see a young girl go astray. My bestie told me to keep an eye on Shungsun. Girls like Shinwei, who pursue relentlessly and throw themselves at guys, are hard for boys to resist, you know." I, however, didn't agree. "I trust myself and I trust Shungsun." Some time later, perhaps influenced by what Shungsun said that day, Shinwei never went back to her part-time job at the nightclub. However, she still often brought him meals. Maybe it's just my imagination. Shungsun's annoyance towards her seemed to have eased considerably. Sometimes, when Shinwei's drain got clogged, she'd come knocking for help. Shungsun would go over to help her, albeit with a frosty expression. So annoying. If she weren't just a young girl, I wouldn't even bother. I felt like something was quietly beginning to change. 5 That night, Shinwei once again charged the battery at home. The battery self-ignited, causing a fire. Shinwei's house was already engulfed in flames when Shungsun and I woke up choking in the middle of the night and rushed outside. Some residents have already called the police. The firefighters have arrived downstairs. Shungxian and I were choking on the thick smoke, struggling to breathe. Fortunately, the fire on our side is not too severe. I held a wet towel over my mouth and nose with one hand, while leading Shungsun toward the stairwell with the other. Shungsun took 2 steps before suddenly pulling his hand away from mine. "Jiqiu, go down first. Shinwei is still at home, and I need to save her." I was stunned. Without a second thought, I wrapped my arms around Shungsun's waist. "The firefighters are here. They're the professionals. The fire's too intense over there. You can't even get the door open. How do you expect to get inside? At the time, I had no idea that the relationship between Xingsun and Shenwei was far more complicated than it appeared. Shenwei had even given Xingsun a key to her apartment while Xingsun and I were arguing. The firefighters had already made it upstairs. Both Xingsun and I were successfully rescued. Fortunately, we only needed to stay in the hospital for a couple of days due to excessive smoke inhalation. Shenwei wasn't so lucky. The fire started in the living room, and she was sleeping in the bedroom when the accident occurred. By the time she woke up, the living room was already engulfed in flames. The door to the bedroom had warped due to the heat and was impossible to open. It took the firefighters 3 hours to completely bring the fire under control. Tragically, Shenwei lay in bed, never to wake again. In her final moments, she clutched a diary tightly to her chest. Its pages held the secrets of her youth, filled with her affection for Xingsun. Upon Shenwei's death, her parents traveled from their hometown to claim her body. Their beloved daughter was tragically burned to death in the fire, and now the elderly couple faces massive compensation claims from their landlord and neighbors. At Shenwei's funeral, Xingsun solemnly kowtowed 3 times before her. We don't want to confront those painful memories anymore. Sell that house and buy a new one somewhere else. Xingsun treated me just as he always had, as if Shenwei had never existed. 3 years later, Xingsun and I got married, had children, and everything fell into place. Xingsun was successful in his career and was incredibly attentive to me. I thought I was the happiest woman in the world. No one could have predicted that Xingsun would suddenly lose his mind on the way to my prenatal checkup. As the car sped onto the overpass, he accelerated relentlessly, his expression growing more and more deranged. Terrified, I gripped the seatbelt and screamed, "Xingsun, stop the car, please," but he ignored me completely. "It's Weiwei's death anniversary today," he snarled. "If you hadn't stopped me back then, she'd still be alive. Now that she's gone, what reason do we have to live?" The car plunged off the elevated highway. The airbag deployed instantly, and just before losing consciousness, I finally understood. Xingsun had long been in love with Shenwei. He resents me for stopping him. He pinned Shenwei's death entirely on me. Thankfully, fate gave me another chance to choose. In this life, I will not stand in Xingsun's way. These two scumbags deserve to be locked together forever. 6. Jiqiu, you go first. Shenwei is still at home, and I can't just watch her die. I have to save her. As if afraid I would refuse, he quickly explained, "After all, it's a life. I can't just stand by and watch someone die." Back in the present, Xingsun, just as in his past life, chose to go save Shenwei without hesitation. This time I quickly let go of his hand. "You go ahead. As a girl, I wouldn't be much help anyway. I'll head off first." The moment I started down the stairs, I caught a flicker of confusion in Xingsun's eyes, but the next second, he turned and charged resolutely into the raging inferno. I practically tumbled and scrambled my way down the stairs. The fire was simply too intense, having already spread to several apartments above and below. The smoke left me dizzy and lightheaded. The wet towel in my hands had long since lost its effect. Thankfully, I ran into a firefighter on the way. Just as I was about to fall, a pair of strong arms caught me. "You guys go ahead. I'll get this injured person down." In the thick smoke, I couldn't see anything clearly. I think, based on the intensity of the fire at Shenwei's house in my previous life, even if I hadn't stopped Xingsun this time, and had allowed him to fulfill his heroic resolve to save the beauty, could he really have rescued Shenwei safely and smoothly? I don't think so. 7. After a thorough checkup by the doctor, it turned out that, just like my previous life, I had inhaled too much smoke, but a few days of hospitalization would suffice. With no serious issues, I was breathing oxygen while scrolling through short videos on my phone. Our residential complex is located in the most bustling part of downtown. A fire of this magnitude constitutes a major incident and quickly made headlines across various news outlets. Our apartment and Shenwei's are on the 21st floor. Looking at the building's exterior now, at least 3 floors above and below are charred black from the fire. Shenwei's unit was hit particularly hard, almost completely gutted, leaving little more than a burnt-out shell. Since the fire broke out in the dead of night, everyone was awakened from deep sleep, choking on the thick smoke. In their desperate bid to escape, the residents were all dressed in pajamas, and some, too rushed to even put on clothes, wrapped themselves in blankets and dashed downstairs. Everyone's faces were smudged with soot, and the traces of fear had yet to fade. In the video, the crowd was furious, questioning the property management. How did they manage the community, and how could such a severe fire occur? The property management was also baffled, meekly assuring that they would fully cooperate with the police investigation and provide an Explanation to all the owners: I've reminded Shinwei numerous times about not bringing batteries home to charge. Unfortunately, she was completely absorbed in figuring out how to win over Shing-sun. She sees me as her romantic rival. You never took a word, I said seriously. As expected, the police will soon determine the cause of the fire. So many people suffered property damage because of her. A number of elderly people with limited mobility, like me, were hospitalized after inhaling too much smoke. Even if she were successfully rescued by Shing-sun and managed to survive this time, the victim's accusations, verbal abuse, and the massive compensation would be enough to crush her. I kept scrolling down. Soon, I came across a video about Shing-sun and Shinwei. In the video, they were the last to come out of the building. The camera was too shaky, and I could only vaguely see that both of them were unrecognizable, almost like two pieces of charcoal. What's funny is that the person who posted this video doesn't know the truth. A caption was added below the video: "Oh my god, there are still such good men in the world. They say that true feelings are revealed in times of trouble." Facing death, this guy didn't run away alone. Instead, his first thought was to save his girlfriend. I heard that when the firefighters found them, the guy was shielding the girl tightly beneath him, and their hands never let go. Who understands this? Family. I'm totally shipping them. I believe in love again. Although I already had the answer in my heart, facing this betrayal directly, my heart still couldn't help but tighten. I remember the advice my best friend once gave me. Back then, I truly believed that what Shing-sun and I had was real love, something that could defy all the world's rules. I forgot, however, that Shing-sun was just an ordinary man after all. What made me think he was immune to falling for someone else? 8. The video of Shing-sun saving Shinwei went viral, spreading like wildfire. Online, even my parents saw it. They saw the caption under the video and thought it was me and Shing-sun who were in trouble, nearly scaring them out of their wits. My dad immediately called me. The voice was trembling uncontrollably, tinged with a hint of a sob. Jicho, are you alright, Dad? It's me. I'm okay. Hearing my voice, my father finally let out a sigh of relief. My mother was beside herself with joy, tears streaming down her face, and she kept thanking the Jade Emperor and Guanyin Bodhisattva. I briefly explained my situation to them. Only after learning that I had only sustained minor injuries did the elderly couple finally relax. Just before hanging up, my mother suddenly realized something and let out an eh. My heart skipped a beat. Wait, that doesn't make sense. If you weren't hurt, then who did Shing-sun save? Why is everyone online saying he saved his girlfriend? My parents have always been very pleased with Shing-sun. Our families are well matched in social standing, and being from the same hometown means we know each other's backgrounds inside out. Most importantly, Shing-sun treats me well. He dotes on me so much that even my dad, who's a total daddy's girl, feels reassured that if I marry Shing-sun in the future, he can rest easy. But now that things have come to this, to avoid further entanglement in the future, I still told my parents the truth. I told my parents about Shinwei's sudden appearance, her relentless pursuit of Shing-sun, and how, when faced with a life-or-death situation, he chose to save her. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. My mom asked me, "Sweetie, what are you thinking about all this?" Her voice was thick with concern. "Sweetheart, what Shing-sun did is his fault. You mustn't let it get to you." I understand what mom and dad are trying to say. After all, Shing-sun was my first love. We've been together for so many years. You'd grow attached even to a pet dog in that time. Not to mention, my parents have seen firsthand how much I cared for him. I let out a light chuckle, my tone breezy. "Mom, Dad, don't worry, it's just a man. If it's over, it's over. I'm not that fragile. Having already experienced death in my past life, to the present me, nothing in this world is a big deal except life and death itself." But my parents didn't see it that way. They booked the earliest flight, saying that with something this big, they had to come see me. 9. I didn't sleep well that night. In my dreams, I repeatedly saw Shing-sun driving us off an overpass. The feeling of weightlessness and helplessness woke me up, crying again and again. I told myself, it's over in this life. Shing-sun successfully saved Shinwei, and he will never hurt you again. The very next day, I met with Shing-sun again. The police found my contact information through his phone. Initially, just like the gossip-hungry public, the police also assumed Shinwei was his girlfriend. However, after their investigation and inquiries, they discovered the two were merely schoolmates and neighbors, and I, Xia Jiqiu, am Shing-sun's girlfriend. Unfortunately, neither of our parents live locally. Since Shing-sun and I are at the stage of discussing marriage, the police could only come to me. I didn't really want to go, but to outsiders, it still looks like Shing-sun and I are in a romantic relationship. Shing-sun's parents are still on their way, unaware of what has happened here. They've called me countless times, urging me to check on Shing-sun's condition. I could only follow the police to Shing-sun's hospital room. Before I opened the door, the officer told me, with evident reluctance. Your boyfriend's injuries are severe, you need to brace yourself. I nodded, took a few deep breaths to steady myself, and pushed the door open. Shung-sun lay motionless on the hospital bed, his eyes tightly shut. His once bright and handsome face was now covered in a dense cluster of blisters, and his hair was patchy and singed from the fire. The victim sustained burns of varying severity across their entire body, with the right hand being particularly severe. Even through the bandages, you could see a reddish-yellow fluid seeping out. Honestly, this was the first time I had seen a burn victim up close. It's unbearable to look at. I couldn't help but freeze for 2 seconds. The police thought I was too devastated and brought me a chair to sit on. Your boyfriend has been unconscious since last night. His right hand is the most severely burned, and the doctor says it's best to perform surgery today, though it's uncertain whether his hand can be saved. Moreover, due to the large amount of toxic substances in the smoke, there's a high likelihood that he will lose his eyesight. I wonder if Shung-sun from his past life, had he known the immense price of saving Shinwei, would he still have charged ahead without a second thought? 10. If we set aside the fact that I'm Shung-sun's girlfriend, Shung-sun is a real man. I have no idea how he managed to open Shinwei's door. I remember in my past life, even the firefighters struggled for a long time to get it open. For now, I can only call this a miracle of love. Trapped in the bedroom, Shinwei was overjoyed to see Shung-sun. The two embraced tightly amidst the raging flames. Moments later, they realized the living room was impassable. In that critical moment of life and death, Shung-sun chose to lift Shinwei with his own hands to the elevated section of the balcony. Fortunately, the firefighters arrived just in time. Otherwise, not only would Shung-sun lose his hand, but he might not even survive. How is Shinwei now? I asked. The police replied, there's nothing major, the burns aren't severe, he just inhaled too much smoke and is still unconscious, but he should wake up soon. So, Miss Xia, do you have any leads regarding this fire? I know the police will definitely uncover the connection between Shinwei and Shung-sun sooner or later, and they will find out that Shinwei herself is the mastermind behind all this. I didn't hide anything. Shinwei often takes the battery of her electric scooter home to charge to save money. I've warned her several times, but she didn't listen. I don't know if this is what caused the fire. After finishing the record, the police planned to leave. I also got up. Aren't you going to stay here and look after your boyfriend, officer? Have you ever seen a woman whose boyfriend would risk his life to save her? His parents will be here any minute. He and we're not really anything to each other. 11. A little over an hour later, Shung-sun's parents rushed to the scene. Finally, when the family arrived, Shung-xian's attending doctor quickly explained his current condition and then handed over the surgical consent form. Shung-xian's father, his hands trembling, took it and read a few lines. His eyes filled with tears as he said, "Doctor, please, you must save my son's hand for us. He's so young, his life has just begun. If he loses his hand and becomes blind, how will he survive in the future? Don't worry about the money. Use the best medicine and find the best doctors. Just make sure my son gets well." In the face of accidents and illness, even the most skilled doctor would never dare to guarantee a cure for every patient in front of their family. All they could tell Shung-sun's parents was that they would do their best. With things having come to this, Shung-sun's father had no choice but to sign his name with a trembling hand. The thought that his once brilliant son would likely be left disabled was unbearable. Shung-sun's mother fainted from crying on the spot. Actually, Shung-sun's parents have been quite nice to me during all these years of our relationship. Thinking about how Shung-sun's stubbornness led to consequences his parents had to bear, I felt a pang of sympathy for them. After all, Shung-sun's mistakes shouldn't be shouldered by others, but I soon realized how foolish I had been. 12. I never expected that Shung-sun's mother would come to see me. My parents' flight has landed, and I'm sending them my location. Shung-sun's mother burst in, pointing at my nose and starting to scold me without any explanation. "Xia Zhiqiu, how are you even a girlfriend? I entrusted my son to you, and this is how you return him to me." In my mind, what? How is this my fault? Remembering that I had just felt sorry for Shung-sun's parents, I almost wanted to slap myself hard right there. Don't you dare show your excessive compassion here. As the saying goes, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. Shung-sun was so crazy in her previous life, it must be hereditary. Seeing that I remained silent, Shung-sun's mother became even more animated. She completely lost her usual grace and kindness, her face contorted with anger as she relentlessly interrogated me. "You must explain today, how did my perfectly fine son turn out like this after being with you? I may seem easygoing on the surface, but I'm certainly not someone who can be easily manipulated." I sat up in bed and opened the video from last night. In just a short while, the likes and shares had increased significantly. "Would you please open your eyes and look clearly? Did Shung-sun get hurt because of me? He was the one who insisted on playing the hero and got himself into this state trying to save someone. What does that have to do with me? Many property owners who know both me and Xing Sun appeared in the comments section of that video. They all left comments below. These two aren't even in a relationship. Why are you all shipping them so recklessly? His actual girlfriend is at the hospital right now. Huh, why is this guy risking his life to save this woman? Hey upstairs, it's okay if you don't get it. Go play. A comment directly hit the nail on the head. You don't know, do you? I live upstairs from them. The male lead has a girlfriend, and she lives right across from the girl whose house is on fire. I've seen them many times, pulling and tugging at each other in the neighborhood. Shingsun's mother wouldn't listen. At this point, she no longer cared what the truth was. All she wanted now was an excuse to vent her fury. Don't you talk to me about that. You're his girlfriend. Why didn't you stop him? How could you be so heartless, just standing by and watching him throw his life away? It's all your fault. My son lost his right hand. Sob. No matter what happens to him now, you're responsible. Shingsun's mother broke down in tears, drawing a crowd of other patients' family members. I sneered inwardly. I tried to stop her in my past life, and what good did it do? It ended with both the mother and the unborn child dead. To put it bluntly, whether I tried to stop it last night or not, that mother and son from the Xing family would have come after me. As for Shingsun's miserable state now, it's nothing but his own karma coming back to bite him. What Shingsun's mother was implying, between the lines, is that she knows in his current state, no one would be willing to marry into their family, so she's trying to pin the responsibility on me. What exactly gives them the confidence? Do I, Xia Jiqiu, owe them anything? 13. What are you yelling at my daughter for? Your son did that on his own, and we haven't come looking for you, which is already giving you face, yet here you are, having the audacity to show up at our door. My mother suddenly appeared outside the ward, coldly confronting Shingsun's mother with questions. My father stood nearby, expressionless, radiating an aura that said keep away. They must have overheard the conversation between Shingsun's mother and me. Shingsun's mother was caught off guard by my parents' sudden appearance, and her face immediately turned grim. He said awkwardly, "No, it's not that. I'm just worried about Jiqiu. You know, now that Xingxuan is like this, and they're about to get married, in the end, I'm just concerned about the young couple. Hee, they're already calling each other in-laws. Xingxuan's mom is determined to push him onto me." My mother didn't respond to Shingsun's mother, and didn't even give her a direct look. The entire time Shingsun's mother's face darkened, but she didn't dare say much more. My mother came over, sat down by my bedside, and carefully checked me over from head to toe. Only after confirming that I was truly alright did she turn back to face Shingsun's mother and speak. "Mrs. Xingxuan, you can be careless with your food, but you must be careful with your words. My daughter and your son are just in a regular dating relationship. How on earth did we become in-laws? This, Jiqiu has been to our house so many times now. Isn't marriage just a matter of time? If you ask me, it's better for us parents to settle their affairs sooner rather than later." Mrs. Xingxuan's expression changed completely, her smile now carrying a hint of obsequiousness. "Just a few polite words and you really think you're something special." Shingsun shamelessly went to save another woman. "And now the whole world knows your son is a hopeless romantic. You think my daughter would take him back? Dream on. Let me be clear with you. Today, as her mother, I'm making the decision for my daughter. Since Shingsun risked his life for true love, my daughter Jiqiu isn't the type to cling on. It's over." With a wave of her hand, my mother made the final decision. Shingsun's mother was stunned, crashed into tears the next second. "You heartless bunch, I'm going to fight you all." My mom has been in business for years, traveling far and wide, and has seen all kinds of people. She's not afraid of anything. Rolled up her sleeves and stepped forward to argue with Shingsun's mom. The crowd of onlookers at the door kept growing. I shouted at the two of them, "Enough, stop arguing. Auntie Shing, you've told me so much. But have you ever considered whether your son still wants to be with me? If he doesn't have me in his heart, then what's the point of us talking so much?" Seeing that my tone had softened, Auntie Xing quickly wiped away her tears and said, "My dear, I'm certain Shingsun only has eyes for you. Those other women out there can forget about ever setting foot in our home." Seeing how adamant Shingsun's mother was, I suggested going to see him. She nodded eagerly in agreement. My own mother, looking worried, took hold of my hand. I gave her a reassuring look. Just now, when the nurse came to change the medicine, I heard her mention that Shinwei had woken up. Given how much she cares about Shingsun, she will probably go to see him right away. I wonder how Xing's parents will feel when they see the person responsible for ruining their son appear. 14. As soon as we reached the door of Shingsun's ward, we noticed his father pacing outside with a heavy expression. Shingsun's mother's face changed, and she hurriedly asked, Why are you here? How is our son? Shungsun's father was left speechless by the question. I instantly realized what was happening. Shungsun's mother was an impatient woman. Seeing him silent, she barged right in. My parents and I followed close behind. What are you doing? Shungsun's mother let out a gasp of shock. On the hospital bed, Shungsun's face was deathly pale, his right arm gone. Shinwei was sobbing over him with his remaining left hand. Shungsun gently touched Shinwei's face, his voice filled with relief. Silly, why are you crying? As long as you're safe, I'm okay. These words clearly reached our ears. Anyone here, as long as they're not an idiot, can see the affection Shungsun has for Shinwei. They two seem more like a couple. Shungsun's mother could hardly accept the fact that her son became disabled, and now seeing Shinwei only fueled her anger. Her eyes blazing red, she lunged forward, grabbed Shinwei by the hair, and yanked her off of Shungsun. Shungsun was flustered and frantic, having just undergone an amputation and with his vision significantly impaired, he still couldn't properly control his balance. In his panic, he tumbled right off the bed. Mom, don't blame Weiwei, I did this willingly. Shinwei felt even more heartbroken seeing how far Shungsun had gone for her. She quickly told Shung's parents that she and Shungsun were truly in love. Uncle, Auntie, Shungsun and I are truly in love. No matter what he becomes, I won't leave him. Please bless our relationship. Shungsun's mother was so furious she was gasping for breath, clutching her chest in exasperation. She said, have you lost your mind, if you're with her? What about Jiqiu? Mom, after facing death, I've thought it through clearly. The one I truly love is Weiwei. She's the only one I'll ever marry in this lifetime. If I can't be with her, I'd rather die. Didn't you always say I was pathetic for chasing after Xia Jiqiu? Shinwei treats me 1,000 times better than she ever did. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. I suppose this is exactly what Shungsun must have thought in his past life. That's why she took me and the child to die with her, to accompany Shinwei in death. My mother snorted coldly. Humph. Now that everything is out in the open, let's part ways amicably from now on. My daughter and your son have no further connection. 15. Since our last meeting in the hospital, Shungsun's mother never came to see me again. I don't know if it's resignation or shame. In any case, my relationship with Shungsun is completely over. According to my later review and information from insiders, Shungsun and Shinwei had already been secretly involved. Shungsun's acting was just too good. Not only did he deceive me, but he also deceived himself. If it weren't for this unexpected fire, he might never have seen his own heart clearly. I'm grateful that in this lifetime, I changed the outcome, escaped from hell. 16. Shungsun finally left the hospital after staying for over a month. I never expected that he and Shinwei would come looking for me. When we met again, he had lost a lot of weight, wore thick glasses, and his right sleeve remained empty. Shinwei, on the other hand, looked radiant and much more beautiful and refined than before. She clung tightly to Shungsun's arm, occasionally casting smug glances in my direction. Shungsun handed me an invitation. It's my and Weiwei's wedding. I hope you can come. I really wonder if that fire fried his brain, too. He pursed his lips. Jiqiu, I was wrong before, and I formally apologize to you, but matters of the heart, they're not something I can control. A lot of our classmates will be at the wedding. I hope you'll come, to show everyone that Weiwei wasn't the other woman in our relationship. I put down my glass and finally snapped at Shungsun. Are you out of your mind? You two want to have your cake and eat it too, is that it? You carried on an affair right under my nose, and now you want me to attend your wedding to give you both legitimacy. Do I have to spell it out for you to finally shut up? Shinwei's face fell, and she stammered, what nonsense are you talking? You're just jealous. That woman is all talk and nothing else. I only found out later that the reason Shinwei quit her nightclub job was because Shungsun had approached her in private. I don't know the specifics, only that Shungsun promised to give her a monthly allowance on the condition that she stayed home and kept away from those unsavory places. Shinwei didn't hesitate and took the money. Then came the part where she pledged herself to him. Shungsun got a key to Shinwei's apartment. They would sneak off to meet during lunch breaks, or after I'd fallen asleep carrying on an affair right under his girlfriend's nose. Shungsun was absolutely reveling in this thrill. But Weiwei is pregnant now. I want her to be happy at the wedding. My departing footsteps faltered. I turned for one last look at Shungsun and Shinwei. You all make me sick. 17. Of course I didn't go to Shungsun's wedding, but I couldn't resist when my friends added me to a group chat for a live stream of it. Jiqiu, you won't believe this, but Shungsun actually paid over 3 million for Shinwei's compensation. TSK. It's like a classic hero saving the damsel scene all over again. Just like last time, the police quickly determined the cause of the fire. Although Shinwei didn't do it on purpose, She was still liable for the damages to the property owner due to her negligence. All the miscellaneous costs added up to over 3 million. Shungsun's family is fairly well off. But for him to come up with that kind of money all at once for Shinwei, that's true love. Bullshit, true love. My ass, my friend cut me off. Shungsun doesn't have much in his own name. That money came from his parents. Nothing good ever falls into your lap for free. I heard Shungsun's mother made Shinwei drop out of school to focus on staying home for her pregnancy. And on top of that, she has to take care of Shungsun, the cripple. If Shinwei gives birth to a girl this time, she'll have to keep trying for a son. Me. But you can still go to school while pregnant, right? Those things don't have to. Conflict. Is Shinwei actually okay with this? What wouldn't she be okay with? She's completely love-struck, probably dreams of having a whole brood of 8 or 10 kids for Shungsun. His mother is just making sure Shinwei doesn't get any ideas about leaving and stays completely devoted to her son. Otherwise, with the state Shungsun is in now, he'd be lucky to find a wife at all. I didn't reply again. All I can do is respect and wish them well. 18. Shungsun and Shinwei's married life was not easy. After becoming disabled, Shungsun's temperament grew increasingly erratic. He would fly into a rage at the slightest provocation, and on several occasions, he even resorted to physical violence. Shinwei was 4 months pregnant with their first child when he beat her, causing her to lose the baby. Yet, the two quickly reconciled as if nothing had happened, and she soon became pregnant with their second child. Throughout their tumultuous, love-hate relationship, I focused on constantly bettering myself, devoted all my energy to my career. After assisting the leader in completing several major projects, they entrusted the project team to me. I sold the old house through an agency. After all, Shungsun lived there, which is considered unlucky. Seasons changed. Spring gave way to autumn. 3 more years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 3 years, Shinwei gave birth to 2 sons. Her conflicts with Shungsun also grew increasingly frequent. She despised how Shungsun had become reclusive and eccentric, unable to see any trace of the person she once admired. Instead of embracing her youth, she found herself trapped in the mundane routines of daily life. 19. One day, there was a stir in our small group again. A friend sent me a video. It showed Shungsun and Shinwei in the middle of an argument. In the footage, Shinwei looked bloated and haggard. Doing the math, she's only about 23 or 24 this year. She has literally degraded herself into a middle-aged auntie. She and Shungsun kept tugging at each other in the scene. Irritated, Shungsun pushed her down with a single palm. Look at yourself now. What kind of person are you? I was just out having a drink with friends. Shinwei refused to let it go. She got up from the floor with a cold sneer. Who knows if you're out there chasing after other women again? The people around them began to mediate, saying, how could that be? Our brother's son would give his life for you. Mentioning the past finally stirred something in Shinwei, and her expression softened considerably. But Shungsun took a fierce gulp of wine and said, sometimes, I really regret saving a lunatic like you. If it weren't for you, I'd still be living a good life, not a cripple missing a hand. Shinwei was taken aback by the remark. The room fell silent. Shinwei couldn't hold back her tears and cried out, do you regret it? Regret saving me? I knew it. You regret saving me and breaking up with Xia Zhiqiu, don't you? Shungsun's face turned red, unsure if it was from the alcohol or embarrassment. Seeing Shungsun in this state, Shinwei burst into hysterical laughter, pointing a deranged finger at him. Do you really think Xia Zhiqiu would still want you? Take a look at yourself. Who else would take in a cripple besides me? Stung to the core by her words, Shungsun flew into a rage of humiliation and slapped Shinwei across the face. The video cuts off here. My friend was filled with endless regret and sorrow. Thank goodness you didn't marry Shungsun. The man is a complete lunatic. Later, Shungsun actually sent me a message. Can we start over? I blocked them directly. If it weren't for Shungsun's own mistakes, his life wouldn't have turned out this way. One should never romanticize the paths they didn't take. Trust that the present is the best arrangement for me. This is the best arrangement. The end. Story 2. In our 5th year of marriage, my husband Hui Yuli proposed making up for our missed honeymoon, but when the plane crashed, he forced me to give the only parachute to his childhood sweetheart Zhou Wen. I stared at him in disbelief. Hui Yuli, have you forgotten? Your daughter is still on this plane. Hui Yuli apologized softly, saying our daughter was the apple of his eye and should have it first. Thankfully it was just a scare. After the plane landed safely, Hui Yuli shielded me as always. Yet the next day, he strapped our naked daughter to a drone. The man held his white moonlight while giving me an icy stare. Chi Wan, if you hadn't insisted on giving the parachute to our daughter, Wenwen wouldn't have been traumatized enough to have nightmares. If you truly care about your daughter, let her learn her lesson the hard way. She turned and dialed Hui Yuli's business rival. You want to ruin Hui Yuli? Marry me, we'll destroy him together. All because I refused to give my parachute to his beloved Zhou Wen. The next day, my husband strapped our naked daughter to a drone. I wept in disbelief. Hui Yuli, you've completely lost your mind. How could you betray your own flesh and blood for a woman? Hui Yuli's gaze turned icy. Chi Wan, if you hadn't insisted on giving the parachute to our daughter, Wenwen wouldn't have had nightmares all night. Tying our daughter to the plane was for her own good, to help build her courage. My face remained expressionless. I can't believe Hui Yuli would say such things about our daughter, but with the plane taking off, I had no time to argue with Hui Yuli. Hui Yuli, she'll die if she falls. I'm begging you, just let her go. Please, take your anger out on me instead. If you want a divorce, I'll agree. I pleaded desperately. Hui Yuli shot me a disgusted glance before turning to ask Zhou Wen if she had a headache. My heart sank, my daughter's wails pierced my heart, and I begged Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen feigned concern. Yuli, you should put an end down now. Sister Chi-Wan already dislikes me. I'd hate to cause any marital strain between you two over this. Hui Yuli gently pinched the woman's nose and sighed. Wenwen, you're just too soft-hearted. I've spoiled and rotten. It's time she learned some hard lessons. Hui Yuli was determined to teach his daughter a lesson. Watching my daughter's terrified, speechless expression, I let out a cold laugh. 5 years of compromise. I've had enough. On our wedding day, Hui Yuli's first love returned from abroad and was brought into our home that very night. At first, Hui Yuli reassured me that Zhou Wen would leave once she found a job, but gradually, he began treating Zhou Wen like his wife, pampering her endlessly while forcing me and our daughter to slave away for them because Zhou Wen disliked weeds. Hui Yuli made our daughter kneel and pulled them out one by one. Since Zhou Wen loved puppies, Hui Yuli deliberately procured one and began treating their daughter like a dog to train. I thought Hui Yuli could change for the better, but no, he only grew worse. Seeing I couldn't persuade Hui Yuli, I turned to leave. The man grabbed my wrist, hissing through clenched teeth, Chi Wan, off to see your lover again. When Zhou Wen had stomach pains, Hui Yuli abandoned me on the highway. That very night, I was violated, yet Hui Yuli believed I was still pining for someone else. I smirked bitterly. None of your business. Zhou Wen crossed her arms and spoke with feigned innocence. Sister Chi-Wan, it's nothing serious, just kneel and kowtow to apologize. Then give me that necklace as compensation, then I'll forgive Anan. I was humiliated by Zhou Wen. Hui Yuli stood by without uttering a single word in my defense. In his eyes, I was just a pet kept to amuse Zhou Wen. My daughter screamed through her tears, begging me to save her from the pain. Gritting my teeth, I agreed. Fine. Hui Yuli, you'd better keep your word. Hui Yuli scoffed coldly. Chi Wan, I won't go back on my word. Hui Yuli had his principles. He despised nothing more than breaking promises. His word alone was enough. Without hesitation, I knelt at Zhou Wen's feet and kowtowed to her. Several times my forehead was swollen and red, yet I felt nothing. Had enough. I kept banging my head until Zhou Wen told me to stop, until a terrifying gash appeared on my forehead. Hui Yuli's eyes betrayed his reluctance. He instinctively reached to steady me, but I dodged his touch. I've held up my end. Hui Yuli, now release our daughter. Hui Yuli responded with a derisive snort. Just as Hui Yuli was about to give the order, Zhou Wen suddenly cried out, Yuli, my chest feels so tight, it must be from the fright on the plane. I still feel like I might die. Hui Yuli pulled Zhou Wen into a comforting embrace. Nothing pained him more than seeing Zhou Wen in tears. Hui Yuli broke his promise. For Zhou Wen's sake, he crossed his own moral boundary. The man's gaze turned icy. Wenwen, what game are you playing now? Consider this. Chi Wan and her daughter paying their debt. Vent all your anger. I've got your back. My husband shielded his precious muse, declaring he'd punish his wife and daughter to defend her honor. I let out a bitter laugh. The next instant, Hui Yuli dragged me onto the aircraft. He left only one parachute, forcing me to choose between saving myself or our daughter. I held my daughter's trembling body in my arms. I soothed her gently. Sweet Anan, don't be afraid, Mommy will protect you. I fastened the only parachute onto Anan while shielding her from the wind. Seeing me swaying unsteadily, a flicker of pity flashed in Hui Yuli's eyes, seething with suppressed anger. Chi Wan, would you really give your life for your daughter? Since you've got no will to live, let's see how long you can last. Meeting Zhou Wen's triumphant gaze, I smiled wordlessly. 5 years of love couldn't compete with his first love, but I still want to fight for myself and our daughter one last time. Hui Yuli, are you really trying to get me and our daughter killed? If the plane crashes, neither of us has a parachute. That bit of cold wind wouldn't have been life-threatening for Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen is lying to you, but Hui Yuli wouldn't believe it. Hui Yuli was convinced I envied Zhou Wen and was scheming to harm his beloved. Chi Wan, there are paramedics below. You and our daughter will be safe. My daughter was burning up with a high fever. I carried my daughter to the doorway. As the parachute deployed, I soothed my daughter. don't be scared, and in, we'll descend slowly. My daughter clung tightly to my hand, unwilling to let go. The plane was shaking violently. If this continued, both my daughter and I would die. I lowered my daughter wearing the parachute before I could catch my breath. A scream pierced the air. The parachute malfunctioned, sending my daughter crashing to the ground. A chill ran down my spine. Standing on the drone, I reached out to catch my daughter, but it was hopeless. Hui Yuli, I'm begging you, please take her into the hospital. If this continues, she'll die. Hui Yuli clenched his fists, a momentary tension gripping him. The next second, Zhou Wen looped her arm through his. Yuli, everything will be fine. The parachute caught the child. It was just a minor accident. The obstructing rocks blocked Hui Yuli's view, hiding the blood on his daughter's head, yet I saw it all too clearly. Despair crept through my heart. For the first time, I felt hatred toward Hui Yuli. Hui Yuli, what will it take for you to send our daughter to the hospital? Hui Yuli's gaze was icy. Chi Wan, and An is my daughter too. Do you really think I'd harm her? Just giving her a little lesson to toughen her up, once. Wen vents her anger. I'll take her to the hospital. Meeting Hui Yuli's gaze, I smiled wordlessly. Hui Yuli meant every word. He intended to teach us mother and daughter a lesson. Backing Zhou Wen all the way. Zhou Wen, name your terms. All I want is for my daughter to live. Zhou Wen huddled pitifully behind Hui Yuli. She's stalling for time, trying to get my daughter killed. Watching my daughter's pitiful, fading breaths tore my heart apart. Hui Yuli's heart is biased. Last year, when Zhou Wen got a scratch on her finger, Hui Yuli forced me to donate the maximum amount of blood for her, only to later discover he'd fed it to his dog. When I confronted him, Hui Yuli just stared coldly and said, Chi Wan, Wen finds your blood filthy. Only the best will do. 2 years ago, when Zhou Wen got a scratch on her cheek, Hui Yuli poured scalding water on my face. Zhou Wen's face remained flawless, while I was left with permanent scars. The repeated cruelty made me see Hui Yuli for who he truly is. I'll never receive an ounce of compassion from Hui Yuli. Under the man's icy gaze, I leaped from the plane. Hui Yuli let out a startled cry. My body slammed onto the ground, blood seeping into the earth. Gritting my teeth, I dragged myself to An and revealed my daughter's bleeding forehead. Hui Yuli, send someone to take An to the hospital immediately. Look at her condition, she's dying. My whole body trembled as I spoke with a hoarse voice. Hui Yuli's wife and daughter stood before him. Drenched in blood, the man's breath hitched. Instinctively, he reached out to scoop up his daughter, but the next moment, Zhou Wen cried out coquettishly, Yuli, I've cut my ankle. My heart hurts too. This is all my fault, causing you trouble. Hui Yuli scooped Zhou Wen into his arms with a strained expression, shooting me a restrained glance. Chi Wan, don't worry. I'll have someone take you and our daughter to the hospital shortly. It's just a little game, nothing that'll actually kill you. As my daughter's breathing grew fainter, I completely lost it. On my knees, clutching my daughter, I pleaded with Hui Yuli, I'm begging you, please, just take An to the hospital first. Zhou Wen lied to you, she's perfectly fine. Hui Yuli glared at me coldly, scolding me for going too far. The man turned and walked away without so much as glancing at me or our daughter. The ambulance crew Hui Yuli promised never arrived. By the time the ambulance came, our daughter had already flatlined. I took out my phone and called Hui Yuli's rival. Hey, didn't you want to take down Hui Yuli? Marry me, and I'll help you, too. After gathering my daughter's ashes, I returned home. Hui Yuli was cooking dinner for Zhou Wen. I still remember how Hui Yuli hated the smell of cooking oil. Even when I was 8 months pregnant, I was always the one cooking. But now, Hui Yuli willingly cooks for Zhou Wen with his own hands. In the past, I would have confronted him about it, but now, there's no need anymore. My daughter is gone, and so is my will to live. As I brushed past him, Hui Yuli frowned and called me back. Chi Wan, what's with that attitude? Is An still throwing a tantrum and refusing to come back? I was just toughening her up. It wouldn't have killed her. I smiled bitterly. Our daughter is dead. Happy now. Hui Yuli's brow furrowed, his voice icy as he told me to stop playing the victim. He couldn't care less about our daughter's fate. Zhou Wen feigned concern. Chi Wan is just exhausted. Yuli, don't blame her. I stayed silent. I suddenly snapped, choking Zhou Wen with a death grip as suffocation set in. Terror washed over Zhou Wen's face. Yuli, save me. Hui Yuli shoved me away. The man's brute strength sent me crashing onto shattered glass. Blood oozed from my palms, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. I looked up. Zhou Wen, so you're capable of feeling pain too. So she does have a heart. Then why did she have to kill my 5-year-old daughter? Hatred coalesces at this moment. I want Hui Yuli and Zhou Wen to join my daughter in death. Entering the room, the bridal chamber looked completely different. My daughter's and my clothes were thrown in the trash. Zhou Wen's lace lingerie and nightgown lay sprawled across our marital bed. Our wedding photo had been flung to the floor, torn down the middle. I removed the plastic ring Hui Yuli bought me and tossed it into the trash. Hui Yuli averted his eyes. Wenwen isn't feeling well. Let her stay in the south-facing bridal suite. I remained silent and turned to leave. If you hadn't insisted on giving the parachute to our daughter, Wenwen wouldn't be having these heart palpitations. Since our daughter is recuperating in the hospital and can't make amends, you'll have to do it in her place. You'll be in charge of Wenwen's daily care. Stock up on more fruits, she loves them. Hui Yuli still refused to believe his daughter was gone. Now they even had me waiting on. Zhou Wen remembered the appointed time with that person. I smiled and said, Hui Yuli, I accept. In the following days, I watched Hui Yuli buy Rose City for that woman, watched him gift her limited edition jewelry, watched them locked in passionate kisses. Inseparable, I stood aside, my stomach churning with nausea. I held it in. Hui Yuli finally glanced at me. You'd better not play mind games to hurt Wenwen. I shook my head with a relieved smile. Hui Yuli, we're through. Waiting for that person's call, they told me my ID had been deactivated. The car sent to pick me up was already waiting outside. Zhou Wen suddenly retched as I was leaving. Yuli, by my calculations, we should be expecting a child by now. Hui Yuli grew anxious and insisted on taking her to the hospital for examination. I tactfully stepped aside, watching with an impassive expression. Hui Yuli's heart suddenly raced with panic. He instinctively grabbed my wrist. Don't take it to heart. Even if Wenwen gets pregnant, we'll have the child raised by you. Hua. Yuli's explanation sounded feeble and unconvincing. No need, Hui Yuli, now that our daughter is gone, you should focus on the child you have with Zhou Wen. I forgot to tell Hui Yuli the moment our daughter died, my marriage with him reached its end. Seeing my indifference, Hui Yuli's expression suddenly turned icy. Scrolling through my feed, I saw Hui Yuli had posted a proposal photo. The caption read, "The unattainable love of my youth now rests in my palm." My gaze lingered on Zhou Wen's diamond ring, suddenly reminding me of my own plastic one. In fact, I begged for a whole year to get it back. Back then, Hui Yuli carelessly tossed it to me. The ring isn't valuable, but you know what matters most is the sentiment behind it. Overjoyed, I nodded in agreement, but I forgot, if Hui Yuli truly loved me, he wouldn't have humiliated me with a plastic ring. I sent Hui Yuli both the proof of my ID cancellation and the evidence that Zhou Wen caused our daughter's death. I turned and got into the car of Hui Yuli's rival. 3 In the hospital, Zhou Wen smiled radiantly, linking arms with the man. Yuli, we're going to have our own baby. Aren't you happy? Hui Yuli's heart skipped a beat as he absent-mindedly tousled the woman's long hair. Even Hui Yuli himself couldn't pinpoint the source of his irritation. To celebrate, Hui Yuli took Zhou Wen to a 5-star hotel. Hui Yuli sent me a message. If you and our daughter apologize to Wenwen, you'll remain Mrs. Hua, and she'll still be the apple of my eye. In the past, I would have replied instantly, but this time, hours passed without a single response. Coincidentally, news of a car accident broke. A dull ache gripped Hui Yuli's chest as he dialed the butler. Where's Chi-wan? The butler stammered. Sir, the car madam was in had an accident. Hui Yuli stared at his phone and let out a cold laugh. What an unbelievable coincidence. The moment he saw the accident news, Chi-wan had a mishap. Hui Yuli saw right through my scheme and gave icy instructions. If Chi-wan admits her mistake, make her apologize to Wenwen. She'll remain Mrs. Hua only if Wenwen forgives her. With that, Hui Yuli abruptly ended the call. News spread about the Hua heir lighting up the entire city with fireworks for his first love. He expected me to confront him, but I didn't, because I was thousands of miles away in France. I'm aware of Mr. Wen's request. A few years back, I happened to rescue the Wen family patriarch from drowning. The old Mr. Wen is gravely ill, and his greatest wish is to see Shuji settle down. He'd be even happier if I were the one marrying into the family. When Shuji handed me a document, Miss Chi is a smart woman who knows what to say and what not to say. If Miss Chi has any requests, feel free to bring them up. I'll certainly help with whatever I can. After a 3-second pause, I let out a sigh. I'd like to trouble Mr. Wen to orchestrate a scheme for me. Hui Yuli received news of my fatal car accident late at night. The shattered phone screen and the jade bracelet on my wrist, symbolizing my status as Mrs. Hua, left him no room for doubt. Hui Yuli called the butler. Didn't I tell you to keep an eye on her? Hui Yuli's eyes burned crimson, fury simmering beneath the surface. Suddenly, he remembered our daughter. He couldn't help but remind, go check on Anan. Don't tell her. Her mother is gone. The butler hesitated. Sir, Miss Anan has already passed away. Her ashes were taken home by the madam, but yesterday, Miss Zhou needed a flower pot, so you gave her the urn. Hui Yuli refused to believe it. He couldn't accept our daughter's death. let alone that he was responsible for it. A sharp pain pierced his chest as Hui Yuli instinctively furrowed his brows. He didn't even know how to ease the agony that night. Hui Yuli got drunk and called me countless times. No one answered. Hui Yuli suddenly chuckled. Chi Wan. Are you trying to punish me? Hui Yuli had forgotten, when our daughter had a fever, I'd called him over and over. When Hui Yuli finally answered impatiently, a woman's moans came through the line time and again. He'd brush me off for Zhou Wen's sake. All he'd ever do was snap. Chi Wan, if you can't even take care of our daughter properly, what good are you for anything else? Now that nobody bothered him anymore, Hui Yuli found himself far from relieved as he'd expected. Little did he know, he had already lost what mattered most. Zhou Wen saw Hui Yuli drunk, mumbling my name and our daughters. Zhou Wen refused to accept defeat. She deliberately plotted to kill me. That much was clear. Why does Hui Yuli still care so much? A shadow flickered in Zhou Wen's eyes. After all, only she deserves to be Mrs. Hua. Zhou Wen faked a miscarriage. Hui Yuli jolted awake and pulled the woman into an apologetic embrace. I'm sorry, Wen. I've been neglecting you. Let's get married. I owe you and our child this commitment. News broke of Hui Yuli and Zhou Wen's marriage. I felt a wave of relief. When Shuji looked surprised, I thought you'd be making a scene. When Shuji didn't mince words in the past, I would have been hysterical and demanding answers, but with my daughter gone, nothing matters anymore. I turned to Wen Shuji. Let's schedule it for Hui Yuli's wedding day. Consider it my wedding gift to them. On the day Hui Yuli married Zhou Wen, I attended the event arm in arm with Wen Shuji. Hui Yuli reached out to caress my face. Chi Wan, why did you fake your death to deceive me? Didn't you know I'd be worried? Hui Yuli is such a hypocrite. I sneered and asked just one question. Now that our daughter is dead, do you finally believe me? Hui Yuli's fingers froze. I stepped forward and slapped Hui Yuli across the face with the back of my hand. This slap is payback for what you did to my daughter. Hui Yuli, you're not worthy of being her father. Hui Yuli's hands went limp. He never expected me to hate him this much. I clapped my hands, and the next second, a video of Hui Yuli entangled with Zhou Wen appeared on the big screen. This happened while I was pregnant with our daughter. The crowd was stunned. TSK, who would have thought Mr. Hua, who puts on such a show of loving his wife and daughter, could be this despicable? Everyone knows Mr. Hua has a cherished white moonlight in his heart, for whom he's constantly mistreated his wife. For Hui Yuli tried to stop me, but he couldn't hold me back. The screen flipped, revealing Hui Yuli circulating footage of my daughter on a drone, all for his precious white moonlight. Their daughter was bleeding profusely, yet Hui Yuli stood coldly by, holding Zhou Wen in his arms. He even abandoned his own flesh and blood in the wilderness just because Zhou Wen sprained her ankle. That's downright inhuman behavior from Chairman Hua. You wouldn't treat a stranger with such cruelty, let alone your own daughter. Hui Yuli's wedding was documented by media outlets. The scandal of Hui Yuli killing his own daughter for his white moonlight would spread like wildfire overnight. The Hua family's stocks plummeted, and Hui Yuli's reputation was utterly ruined. The man stared intensely at me. Chi Wan, do you really hate me this much? Hui Yuli, this is what you owe Anan, my daughter. She was just a child, and you took her life. Hui Yuli, someone like you doesn't deserve to live in this world. Hui Yuli froze. Did Hui Yuli really think this was enough? I sneered and clapped my hands. I hauled Hui Yuli onto the drone. What he did to my daughter, I'll return in kind. Hui Yuli, there's only one parachute. Choose, for you or for Zhou Wen. Hui Yuli frowned. Zhou Wen pleaded urgently. Yuli, I don't want to die. I'm carrying your child. I can't let anything happen to me. Seeing Zhou Wen's pale face, Hui Yuli suppressed his temper and gently stroked her back. Wen, I won't abandon you. The man glared at me. Chi Wan, give the parachute to Wen. If you hate me, take it out on me. Don't hurt her and the child. Hui Yuli would sacrifice himself for Zhou Wen, yet when it came to me and Anan, he showed nothing but cruelty. My daughter died the day he stood up for Zhou Wen. I let out a cold laugh. I threw the evidence of my daughter's death at Hui Yuli. Hui Yuli, don't you want to know what your precious moonlight has done? Black and white, crystal clear. Zhou Wen sabotaged the parachute, feigned illness, and forced Hui Yuli to strap their daughter to a drone. Hui Yuli's eyes trembled as he gripped Zhou Wen's throat, demanding answers. You ordered this, didn't you? Zhou Wen averted her gaze, wanting to argue but confronted by undeniable facts. Yuli, let me explain. Hui Yuli stared coldly at Zhou Wen. I remained silent without interrupting. The woman took Hui Yuli's hand and placed it on her lower abdomen. Yuli, I did it all for our child. I didn't mean to cause Anan's death. Please don't be angry with me. Hui Yuli shook off Zhou Wen's hand, his gaze icy. I lost my temper for the first time. Zhou Wen, you've gone too far. I lost all interest in watching the show, clapped my hands and told Zhou Wen to put on the parachute. Since Mr. Hui gave his parachute to his wife. Zhou Wen, you should put it on and jump. Zhou Wen's hands trembled. Qi Wan, you're trying to kill me, aren't you? You must have tampered with this parachute. Zhou Wen pleaded with Hui Yuli. Yuli, where are your bodyguards? Get them to save me now. Qi Wan wants me dead. She'd have me take a fatal fall. Despite everything, Hui Yuli softened when he learned Zhou Wen was carrying the Hui family's heir. Qi Wan, let Zhou Wen go. She's with child now. With half the Hui family's shares in my grasp, I'm forcing Hui Yuli's hand. Since Zhou Wen isn't willing, I suppose these shares mean nothing to you either. Hui Yuli took a deep breath. He coaxed Zhou Wen gently. Wen, put on the parachute. I know Qi Wan, she wouldn't actually kill you. Hui Yuli's gaze was icy, his tone broking no argument. Hui Yuli personally strapped the parachute onto the woman before shoving her forward. The parachute malfunctioned midair for several seconds. Zhou Wen screamed hysterically in midair, her face contorted with panic. A dull ache spread through my chest, and I couldn't hold back my tears. My daughter must have been terrified when they forced her off that plane. Hui Yuli stared at me. Qi Wan, you've gotten what you wanted. Hui Yuli stared at me with icy contempt. I shook my head. Not enough. I led Hui Yuli to my daughter's grave with a small knife. I carved wound after wound into Hui Yuli's arm. Blood gushed from the wound as Hui Yuli gasped in pain. Qi Wan, you've lost your mind. Didn't Hui Yuli realize that already? The moment he pushed our daughter off that plane, I'd gone completely mad. I forced Hui Yuli to his knees, demanding he kowtow and beg our daughter's forgiveness. Hui Yuli refused. Qi Wan, if Anan were still alive, she wouldn't want to see you like this. How ironic. Hui Yuli was actually trying to talk sense into me. I clicked play on the video. In the scene, Anan stood by the garden, asking with childlike innocence, Mommy, if I give all these flowers to Daddy, will he finally like me? When will Daddy take me to the amusement park? Chi-Chi and the others have all been there except me. Mommy, does Daddy hate me? Why does he never hug me? His daughter's innocent words cut through Hui Yuli's heart like a knife. The cold wind made Hui Yuli realize tears were streaming down his face. Hui Yuli collapsed to his knees before his daughter's grave. Staring at that youthful little face on the tombstone, it suddenly dawned on him that he'd never once initiated a hug with his daughter. Whenever his daughter called, Hui Yuli would always hang up. He lied about being busy with work while actually fooling around with Zhou Wen. A lump formed in Hui Yuli's throat as regret washed over him. I'm sorry, Anan, you have every right to hate your father. What have I done? He had actually killed his own child with his own hands. 5. Hui Yuli's eyes trembled. The slap landed on the man's cheek, but Hui Yuli felt no pain. Hui Yuli's eyes darkened with unreadable emotions. Qi Wan, I've been terribly wrong. Hui Yuli stood up, his gaze fixed on me. Hui Yuli left. The Hui family went bankrupt, and Hui Yuli fell from grace to utter destitution. Zhou Wen was initially willing to stay with Hui Yuli, but his gaze remained icy. Every time he saw her, he was reminded of his daughter. Gradually, Hui Yuli and Zhou Wen began quarreling every other day without a single peaceful day. Zhou Wen grew increasingly resentful. She had an affair with a tycoon right before Hui Yuli's eyes. Zhou Wen was getting intimate with the wealthy man. They even made Hui Yuli buy them toys to spice things up. Hui Yuli refused. Zhou Wen, I've given you all my devotion. How could you do this to me? The bodyguard pinned the man to the ground. Zhou Wen let out a coquettish laugh. Why, Hui Yuli? You claim to love me yet refuse to marry me. I had to take matters into my own hands to get what I want. And Hui Yuli, do you still think you're the CEO? Right now, you're not even worth as much as a street sweeper. By the way, I got rid of your child long ago. Hui Yuli, you murdered your own child with your own hands. Ha, you don't deserve love. Hui Yuli, Zhou Wen's words cut Hui Yuli to the core. The man suddenly broke free from the bodyguards and stabbed Zhou Wen in a frenzied rage. The tycoon fled in panic. Zhou Wen kowtowed in desperate apology. Yuli, I did love you once. Please take me to the hospital. I don't want to die. I shook my head despite Zhou Wen's groveling pleas. Hui Yuli remained unmoved. He watched the woman's terrified expression. He couldn't help but chuckle. So this is how people look when staring death in the face. Utterly panic-stricken, Zhou Wen bled out and died on the spot. After Zhou Wen's death, Hui Yuli leaped from the 18th floor. News of Hui Yuli's suicide reached me while I was picking wedding dresses with Wen Shuji. My fingers froze midair, a chill running down my spine. I forced a careless smile when Shuji patted my shoulder without saying a word. Zhou Wen is dead. Hui Yuli is dead too. I've avenged my daughter. It's all over now. That night, I visited my daughter at her gravesite, staring at her youthful face in the photo. It felt like she was standing right at our doorstep, smiling as she called out to me, Mommy. I reached out toward my daughter. Good girl, Anan. Let's go home with Mommy. After my contract with Wen Shuji expired, I went to England. Alone there, nobody knew about my past. I followed the crowd, passing one crossroads after another. Stop and go. Warm light spills down, casting my shadow. I tap the screen, gazing at my daughter's smiling face before tilting my head back. Thankfully, I still have all the time in the world. It's okay to reminisce. Life goes on beautifully. Story 2. In our past life, the class beauty got pregnant while fooling around with her delinquent boyfriend. When her pregnancy became impossible to hide, she came to my childhood sweetheart to clean up her mess. I begged him not to be a fool, but he wouldn't listen. Instead, he stood by her side and cursed me for being heartless. I cut all ties with him, then married into wealth after graduation, becoming a pampered socialite. He dropped out early to work grueling hours, raising another man's children day and night. At our 20-year reunion, he greeted me with silver hair and a heartbreaking smile. When I opened my eyes again, we'd both been reborn back to that moment when the class beauty came to him as her last resort. 1. Lin Ting. How have you been lately? I froze for a second, staring at the aged man blocking my path, his ill-fitting suit, nervous gestures, and hair nearly completely silvered. Though this was supposed to be our college reunion after over 2 decades, yet my college classmates and I are merely in our late 30s. We're all in the prime of life, thriving in our careers, and know how to take good care of ourselves. Scanning across the banquet hall, everyone radiated youthful energy and vitality. At the very least, everyone looked a good decade younger than their actual age. The sudden appearance of this white-haired old man made me hesitate for a moment before I nervously called out, "Instructor Liu." Other than our former homeroom teacher, I couldn't imagine any other elderly man with white hair who'd show up here. The man froze at my words, clearly startled that I'd named his former position. It took him several seconds to recover before he murmured with trembling lips, "That's not me." Not catching his words clearly, I responded with a smile, "It's been ages since I last saw you. Are you still teaching at the school?" The person beside me lowered their head further, pressing their lips together in silence. Just as I was puzzled, a gaunt woman suddenly emerged from the corner, yanking his hair while shrieking in a piercing voice, "Chen Xiao, how nice. You haven't sent this month's living expenses yet, but you've got money for new clothes and attending fancy parties like this." Her outburst instantly drew everyone's attention in the room. As I finally saw the man's face clearly, I took 2 disbelieving steps backward. The reason was simple. The silver-haired, weathered man standing before me was none other than Chen Xiao, my childhood sweetheart, the Chen Xiao in my memory who always held his head high, looking down at me with that smirk asking, "Can't even solve this problem, Lin Ting, are you just naturally blessed with stupidity or what?" The Chen Xiao who effortlessly aced every exam, propping his chin on his hand with a grin saying, "When Tsinghua and Peking University fight over me someday, I'll make them take you along too. Deal." The Chen Xiao who'd been tall and handsome since childhood, carelessly tossing me stacks of Valentine's love letters to fold into paper airplanes. The Chen Xiao who remained invincible in my memories, always standing behind me, effortlessly conquering everything. Now, getting beaten by a woman skinnier than herself who was pressing her head down. He instinctively covered his head to dodge, but the moment our eyes met, he suddenly flew into a rage. Chen Xiao violently shoved Chen Xiaoxiao to the ground, then abruptly slapped her across the face. "Have you lost your damn mind, Chen Xiaoxiao? Go beg your real mother for money if you're that desperate." The sharp sound of a slap echoed loudly through the silent banquet hall. Chen Xiaoxiao stood frozen, clutching her stinging cheek in disbelief at Chen Xiao's strike. The next instant, she lunged at him with a snarl, "How dare you hit me, Chen Xiao? I'm your legal daughter. My name's in the Chen family register. You're obligated to provide for me. If you don't pay up now, I'll report you for rape." The two began grappling again, their shouts and curses growing louder. Soon someone stepped in to break up the commotion, forcibly separating them. I couldn't stand watching anymore and gave Chen Xiaoxiao 5,000 yuan. Chen Xiaoxiao's resentment instantly melted away as she stared at the money in her hand, beaming from ear to ear while showering the ante with repeated thanks. Then she smoothed her auburn curls, spat in Chen Xiao's direction, and stormed off without another word. Chen Xiao slumped in his chair, arms hanging limply at his sides. His head remained bowed, heavy and unmovable too. I poured Chen Xiao a glass of water and offered it to him, but he didn't take it. "You must think I'm ridiculous," Chen Xiao said with a bitter smile, his voice barely above a whisper. I wasn't sure what he meant, whether he was referring to his current state or to Chen Xiaoxiao, who'd just had a physical altercation with him. After a long silence, I set down the glass of water and finally spoke, "But didn't you choose all this yourself?" Chen Xiao's body jerked violently before he buried his face in his hands, sobbing uncontrollably. Indeed, he couldn't blame anyone. This was the path Chen Xiao had chosen for himself. All their college classmates present knew about it. and each had tried to dissuade him to some extent, but back then, Chen Xiao seemed possessed, deaf to all advice, wholly consumed by his obsession with Li Jiwei. Li Jiwei transferred to our class during freshman year. Back then I was just a scrawny twig, while she already had curves in all the right places, naturally beautiful with a great figure. Her warm smile and gentle demeanor quickly won over most guys in class at 17 or 18. Hormones were raging at their peak. The sudden arrival of a stunning beauty in class had all the boys buzzing with excitement. Only Chen Xiao remained unfazed, wearing an irritated expression when Li Jiwei came to ask questions. After just a couple follow-up questions, Chen Xiao clicked his tongue impatiently. Such basic questions. Stop wasting my time. His words cut Li Jiwei to the quick. She walked away with red-rimmed eyes, visibly crushed, clueless about teenage boys' awkwardness. I scolded him right then. Why are you being so mean to her? What's easy for you might be hard for her. We're classmates. There's no need to be so harsh. I kept nagging in his ear, trying to get him to treat Li Jiwei better, completely missing how he was gripping his pen while staring at her retreating figure. Not hearing a word I said. Just as I was about to say more, Chen Xiao abruptly stood up and muttered flatly, "I'm stepping out." With that, he ignored me and sprinted off in the direction Li Jiwei had gone. They only returned one after another when the class bell finally rang. For some reason, Li Jiwei's face was flushed, while Chen Xiao's lip looked slightly swollen and even a bit split. I've always been a bit dense, completely oblivious to whatever was going on between Li Jiwei and Chen Xiao. To me, Chen Xiao is my childhood friend and the top student in class, while Li Jiwei is the gentle and kind class beauty. They seem to have a rather strained relationship. Li Jiwei often comes to Chen Xiao for help, but he always ends up making her cry, then reluctantly apologizes with a cold expression. In the second semester of freshman year, a girl with rainbow-colored hair stormed into our classroom, grabbed Li Jiwei by the hair, and slapped her twice across the face. "You home-wrecking bitch, how dare you seduce my man?" Chen Xiao rushed over immediately, shoved the girl away, retaliated with 2 sharp slaps of his own, and shielded Li Jiwei behind him. "Psycho." Chen Xiao growled through clenched teeth, glaring at the girl. If Li Jiwei hadn't held him back, he probably would have gone after her to throw punches. Without wasting a word, the girl yanked out a thick stack of papers from her bag and scattered them in the air while shrieking, "This slut slept with my boyfriend and got pregnant. Everyone, come see." The whole thing happened so suddenly that the entire class was left stunned. A flurry of A4 papers fluttered down past my head, instinctively catching one. A single glance made me recoil in horror. Each sheet was plastered with explicit kissing photos of Li Jiwei and some blonde punk. Among them was a chat screenshot showing an ultrasound report Li Jiwei had sent. She anxiously asked the person across from her what to do, but received no response. 3. The news of Li Jiwei's pregnancy eventually blew up. No one expected this seemingly delicate, gentle, and beautiful girl to have been secretly involved with local troublemakers outside school. To make matters worse, she was the other woman, crossing every line imaginable. She unexpectedly got pregnant, only to have the guy's official girlfriend show up and beat her up. Li Jiwei kept her head down and wept bitterly as the teacher led her away, her sobs full of anguish and resentment. Chen Xiao couldn't tear his eyes away from her, barely restraining the urge to rush forward. I folded the A4 paper beside me, refusing to look at what was printed on it any longer. The matter remains unsettled, regardless of whether Li Jiwei is innocent. Her private photos shouldn't be circulating wildly. I was about to gather all the A4 papers for disposal when I spotted one on Chen Xiao's desk. Just as I reached for it, he suddenly slapped my hand hard. "Chen Xiao, why'd you hit me? That really hurt." I gasped in pain and looked up into Chen Xiao's bloodshot eyes. "Lin Ting, could you stop being such a busybody?" Chen Xiao shouted at me, unable to contain his anger. "You always have to stick your nose into everything and spread gossip. Li Jiwei is in this state, and you don't even have an ounce of sympathy." I stood frozen in place, momentarily stunned by his outburst. The next second, he violently hurled the A4 papers and all the books on the desk at me, yelling furiously as he threw them, "You want to look? Here, take a good look. Look all you want." Caught off guard, a pile of books hit me square in the face. Then came the pens Chen Xiao had placed on the desk. One of them came flying straight at my eye. As I covered my eye and screamed, I heard classmates scolding Chen Xiao, demanding an apology. He spat viciously and snapped, "Lin Ting deserved it. That nosy bitch had it coming. Disgusting. Jiwei is obviously framed. These are all photoshopped images, yet Lin Ting insists on seeing them. Just can't resist kicking someone when they're down. How despicable." Rushed to the hospital with my hands covering my eyes. I could still hear Chen Xiao's curses ringing in my ears as I left. Writhing in too much pain to respond, I could only make Out Chen Xiao's grim face through my blurred vision. At that moment, I couldn't comprehend why I was subjected to such torment. It felt like a knife twisting in my heart to be treated this way by Chen Xiao, for I temporarily lost my eyesight for a period of time. Chen Xiao's parents knelt to apologize on his behalf, covered all medical expenses with sincere remorse, and even dragged him over to give him a thorough scolding. After all, our families had been close for many years, so in the end we chose to forgive and let the matter rest. When I returned to the classroom to continue studying, I could only wear an eye patch and strain to see the blackboard with my other eye. Chen Xiao remained stony-faced, offering neither an apology nor another word to me. I stayed silent too, never speaking to him again. Ironically, since we lived close by, that was the day I saw Li Jiwei standing at Chen Xiao's doorstep with her noticeably rounded belly. Chen Xiao held her tightly, swearing with deliberate emphasis, "Jiwei, don't be afraid, I'll stand by you. If you won't take responsibility, then I'll be your support, I'll provide for you, I'll provide for your baby." Li Jiwei wept pitifully, burying her face in Chen Xiao's chest as she sobbed, "You're all I have now." Chen Xiao clung to her, about to kiss the top of her head, when he suddenly spotted me standing in the corner holding the keys, his face instantly drained of color. I stared at them dumbfounded. "You're going to support Li Jiwei?" "Chen Xiao, don't be ridiculous, they're barely adults themselves with no means to earn a living. How are they supposed to support themselves and 2 kids? Why not terminate this unborn child?" Before I could finish, Chen Xiao's eyes turned bloodshot as he roared at me, "Shut up, Lin Ting, have you no humanity left? That's a living being." Chen Xiao cursed loudly, his every word dripping with defense for Li Jiwei. I opened my mouth but said nothing, slipping through the door into my house just as Chen Xiao was gearing up for another rant. After nearly 2 decades of growing up together, I realized I still couldn't understand Chen Xiao. His thought process completely baffled me. The guy's clearly unhinged, like certifiably insane. I didn't dare to advise him further, especially since I could only see clearly with one eye left. After that day, Chen Xiao skipped school altogether to work at a chain store, earning money to buy nutritional supplements for Li Jiwei. He even stole money from home to rent an apartment for Li Jiwei. The two lived like carefree immortals in that rented apartment until Chen Xiao started resenting how classes took up too much time, preventing him from being with Li Jiwei constantly, so he secretly dropped out behind his parents' backs, only for his teacher to report it directly to his family. Chen Xiao was dragged back home by his parents. During that period, I'd often hear crashing sounds of cups shattering next door, followed by Old Man Chen's roars and Madam Chen's sobs. From initial stubborn defiance, Chen Xiao gradually gave in until he finally returned to school under his parents' watchful eyes. Everyone thought he was getting his life back on track, but no one expected Chen Xiao to steal the family's bankbook and run away with Li Jiwei, who had just given birth. While everyone else was enjoying their college life to the fullest, Chen Xiao became the father of a newborn. Later, Chen Xiao moved to another city and we lost touch completely. Time passed, I graduated, got married, and Chen Xiao faded from my memory entirely. Never did I expect we'd meet again 20 years later at a class reunion. Nearing 40 now, Chen Xiao had lost both the dashing confidence of his youth and his handsome boyish features. At this moment, he was a gaunt, weather-beaten middle-aged man. Chen Xiao couldn't even bring himself to meet my gaze. Shrinking back, he murmured in a hoarse voice, "Lin Ting, I regret it." 5. Chen Xiao seemed to have so much he wanted to tell me, but before long, some close friends from university came looking for me. "Sorry," I gave him a faint smile and walked toward the group of college classmates standing nearby. Chen Xiao instinctively reached out to stop me but missed, left watching helplessly as I walked away. As soon as I approached them, someone grabbed my hand and whispered anxiously, "Are you hurt? After how he treated you in college, you're still being civil to him." God, I'd have run for the hills. "Stop worrying about him. Do you want to lose your eyesight or something?" They all chimed in while pulling me away. I just smiled and went along with it. That entire evening, Chen Xiao sat alone in the corner, watching the party crowd with quiet desolation. Though they were all classmates, not a single person initiated conversation with him. They weren't carefree 20-somethings anymore. These reunions had become little more than networking events. Why would anyone pass up golden opportunities like me to socialize with that down-and-out wreck Chen Xiao? So until the party ended, no one went to talk to Chen Xiao, yet he stayed resilient, lingering until the crowd thinned out before limping toward me. I was waiting for a ride when Chen Xiao cautiously approached and asked, "How have you been lately?" This time, I caught his question clearly and countered with a smile, "Do I look like I'm not doing well?" "That's not a real smile," Chen Xiao sighed, "I can tell." The smile faded from my face as distant headlights flickered through the darkness. "My ride's here, I should get going," I said politely. Then in an instant, the car came speeding straight Toward me in the blink of an eye, it charged right at me, leaving me frozen in terror just before slipping into unconsciousness. I saw Chen Xiao limping desperately toward me, then suddenly, my eyes flew open to meet the blazing sun overhead. I heard muffled sobs and a fragile whisper, "Chen Xiao, you're all I have left." My head snapped toward the sound, where I saw young Chen Xiao with his arm around Li Jiwei. When our eyes met, his instantly lit up. Then Chen Xiao shoved Li Jiwei aside and strode toward me, pulling me into a tight embrace as he choked out, "You came back too, didn't you? Thank heavens for giving me a second chance." I blinked, still processing, when Chen Xiao's inner voice suddenly echoed in my mind, "Damn those bitches Lin Ting and Li Jiwei. I swear I'll make them pay." "No, make that 3. Don't fucking think I'll spare you just because you're in her womb." I froze momentarily, double-checking that I could indeed hear Chen Xiao's inner voice, suppressing my turmoil. I looked up at him with practiced composure. Just then, Chen Xiao trembled as his piercing gaze locked onto me. "Lin Ting, you can hear it too, can't you?" I frowned at him before coldly brushing his hand away, my voice icy. "Chen Xiao, stop this madness. Whatever's between you and Li Jiwei is none of my business." With that, I flung the door open, rushed inside, and leaned against it gasping for breath. Standing before the mirror, I splashed water on my face and gazed at my slender, youthful reflection with a dazed disbelief. Chen Xiao and I had actually been reborn back in our college days. Had I really escaped that bastard's clutches? I tossed and turned all night, unable to find sleep. My mind was in complete turmoil, with joy and disbelief tangled together, making me feel like I was trapped in some wonderful dream. It wasn't until the next morning when I woke up with bedhead and saw my parents at the breakfast table that reality finally sank in. With reddened eyes, I threw myself into my mother's arms and cried, "Mom, I've missed you so much. What's gotten into you this early in the morning, child?" My mother held me tight, showering me with affection as I fought back tears, burying my face in her embrace and refusing to let go. Thank goodness my parents are still here, and I haven't been completely destroyed by that person this lifetime. I'll protect them with all my heart and live well. 6. In my past life, my parents died in a car accident. The drunk driver who caused the crash saw my parents lying in a pool of blood. He knew full well my parents were still breathing, yet stood idly by the car scrolling through his phone before casually calling the police. He only called the police, not even dialing 120 for emergency medical help. He watched my parents take their last breaths right before his eyes as if they were mere objects of no consequence. The coroner later told me my parents could have been saved if the ambulance had arrived with the police car. Both of them could have been saved. I was so furious I nearly lost my mind. I wanted revenge and was ready to hire a lawyer to sue him. But then, looking at my tear-streaked face, the other person suddenly grasped my hand. That person's enigmatic half-smile flashed through my mind again for no reason. I quickly shook my head, trying to rid myself of that disgusting face. I've been reborn, my parents are still here, and I won't have the slightest connection with that person ever again. I'd mentally prepared myself, but the moment I opened the door, there was Chen Xiao waiting at my doorstep. My brows instantly furrowed as I pressed my lips together, taking 2 steps back to avoid him, but Chen Xiao reached out to stop me, lowering his eyelids as he asked, "Lin Ting, where are you off to?" "School," I said flatly. "It's Sunday, time to head back to campus. Where else would I be going?" Chen Xiao's face suddenly broke into a wide grin at my words. "Makes sense," he said, "let me give you a ride." But what I was really thinking was, looks like Lin Ting didn't actually get reborn. Still the same idiot as always if you got a second chance at life, who'd wasted on stupid school classes. Making money's the priority. I quietly stepped away from him and called toward the house. "Dad." My father came rushing over with my lunchbox, his face darkening when he saw Chen Xiao. Before my dad could even speak, Chen Xiao froze, muttered a hasty "hello uncle" and scurried away like a scared rat. Seems he's been reborn, but still remembers how my dad pounded his head bloody with punch after punch when he messed up my eyes, never letting up even when his skull was dripping red. "Listen Ting Ting, stay the hell away from that bastard if you see him. The guy's got screws loose." My dad kept drilling it into my ear. I nodded obediently like the perfect daughter, but he still couldn't shake his worry. Ever since my dad caught wind of Chen Xiao's intentions to pester me, he insisted on personally driving me to and from school every week. He even paid out of pocket to install surveillance cameras in our classroom, claiming it was just a precaution. But Dad was worrying over nothing. Chen Xiao not only stopped bothering me, he even stopped attending classes altogether. He stole his family's savings passbook and used the money to fly to Hangzhou. Mrs. Chen came to my house sobbing uncontrollably. He said he wanted to invest all our money in some Mayun venture. When his father refused, he just took the money and ran away. I think he's completely lost his mind. Listen, you and Chen Xiao were always so close, could you please talk some sense into him for me? I'm begging you." Somehow during this conversation, Mrs. Chen tried to kneel before me again, but my mother stopped her with a stern expression. "Sister, how can you say such things? Look at my daughter's eyes, she's only got one good one left. Have some mercy on our family, or should I kneel before you too?" Just as I was about to speak, Mom shot me a look that sent me straight to my room. A sudden warmth filled my chest and my nose tingled with emotion. How wonderful to be reborn with both parents still here. I'm no longer that Lin Ting who had to grow up overnight and shoulder everything alone after losing both parents. After being away for over half a month, Chen Xiao returned home one night, knocking on his own door covered in travel dust. My dad told me he was banging on the door so loudly it woke up the entire neighborhood. Everyone peeked out just in time to see old Chen trembling with rage, his hand raised to slap Xiao across the face, when suddenly the boy yanked open his backpack, revealing stacks of crisp red bills inside. Mr. Chen froze on the spot. Mrs. Chen, quicker to react, immediately dragged everyone inside and slammed the door shut tight. He actually got the money. I couldn't help feeling surprised. I have no idea how much Chen Xiao's family is worth, but at this point Alibaba's already gearing up for its IPO. What would they want with Chen's petty cash? Just as I was puzzling over it, Chen Xiao swaggered up to me with a smug grin. Even with his sun-darkened skin, nothing could dim the youthful radiance bursting from this 20-something guy. With a triumphant look, he pulled a wad of bills from his pocket and shoved them into my hand. "Lin Ting," he declared, "I've struck gold in business. Be with me. I'll treat you right." Chen Xiao's so-called business was just flipping goods in Hangzhou using his parents' savings with memories from his past life. He rode the wave of economic reform and made quick money in Hangzhou. Glancing at the cash he'd shoved into my hand, I pushed it back and asked with a smile, "What about Li Jiwei?" Chen Xiao's face darkened momentarily before he forced another smile. "Cut the crap, Lin Ting. I'm not some idiot who'd raise another man's wife and kids." I chuckled. Chen Xiao sure had a silver tongue, but I knew better. He'd long rented an apartment for Li Jiwei, pampering her like some kept woman. Not that Chen Xiao wanted history to repeat itself, his inner voice screamed in my head. Damn it, once that bitch Li Jiwei gives birth, I'll ditch them both and let them rot in hell. I'll never let those who ruined my past life get away with it. I sidestepped Chen Xiao and said indifferently, "This has nothing to do with me, Chen Xiao. I want nothing to do with you either. Stay the hell away from me from now on. You don't want to go to school. Well, I still do." I gave Chen Xiao a long look before walking away. Chen Xiao was left standing there clutching the money, his expression dark. 7. I'd long since forgotten every bit of my college education. Thankfully there's still a year left. To keep up with everyone else, I crammed like crazy by cutting into my sleep time. I studied around the clock, while Chen Xiao disappeared again with the money for who knows how long. When he finally reappeared, I spotted a familiar face standing beside him. Chen Xiao couldn't hide his smugness as he introduced the tall, aloof young man next to him. "Lin Ting, come meet my protege. This is Ji Shiming. You wouldn't know him. He's the heir to our city's wealthiest family, currently working under me." My body stiffened slightly as I suppressed a full-body tremor. Keeping my head bowed in feigned docility, Ji Shiming lazily lifted his eyelids, raking his gaze over me. His eyes briefly skimmed past the medical eye patch covering my eye before offering a belated greeting. Chen Xiao proudly recounted how his sharp business acumen uncovered the opportunity, how he hit it off with Ji Shiming's father to secure the investment, and how he effortlessly convinced them to send Ji Shiming over as his right-hand man. As Chen Xiao spoke, Ji Shiming stood by with a warm, crinkle-eyed smile radiating approachability. Whenever Chen Xiao reached particularly animated moments, Ji Shiming would chuckle and obligingly applaud. Their seamless back and forth made them look like brothers from another mother. Chen Xiao remained oblivious, mistaking Ji Shiming's admiration as genuine, his face brimming with smug satisfaction. But I saw through it clearly. That expression of Ji Shiming's was unmistakably brewing mischief, ready to drag Chen Xiao into the mud at any moment. Ji Shiming had many twisted hobbies, but the cruelest was his penchant for lifting people sky-high only to hurl them down mercilessly, then watching their humiliation and downfall from above. In my past life, I never understood his methods, yet Ji Shiming would always flash me that radiant smile. "Honey, don't you find it absolutely hilarious watching those idiots plummet from heaven to hell in an instant? It's clearly funny, darling. Why aren't you laughing?" The memory of that man with the hollow smile gradually merged with Ji Shiming before me, sending an involuntary shiver down my spine. Chen Xiao stepped aside to take a call while Ji Shiming's gaze lingered on me, his eyebrows arching in silent inquiry. Ji Shiming suddenly spoke up behind me. "So you're his little girlfriend too? What? I turned with a frown, warning him coldly, "You can eat whatever you want, but watch your words." This boy before me wasn't yet the cruel man who could smile while sending people to their deaths years later. I took a deep breath, forcing down the panic in my mind and struggling to maintain composure. "Oh, my bad." Ji Shiming forced a smile. "I thought you were Chen Xiao's girlfriend too, just like that pregnant girl. But Chen Xiao really likes you." The guy's loaded. "Why not just say yes?" Ji Shiming stepped closer. The 18-year-old towered over me at over 6 feet tall, his presence like an immovable wall. Dealing with Ji Shiming exhausted me, even more than dealing with Chen Xiao did. "So you're saying with all the men in this world, Chen Xiao is my only option? If you've got nothing better to do, maybe get your head examined." I stepped past him coldly. "And just so we're clear, women don't cease to exist without men." I trudged homeward, absolutely done with Ji Shiming's nonsense, so I completely missed Ji Shiming's intrigued gaze burning into my back. Even as I rushed through the front door, I could still hear Ji Shiming and Chen Xiao's conversation drifting from outside. Ji Shiming was asking Chen Xiao, "By the way, what was that girl's name again?" "Lin Ting." Chen Xiao repeated nonchalantly. "Didn't I just introduce you to?" "Oh, didn't catch that just now. She's alright looking, but needs to fill out more. Right now she's just a beanpole." "Really? Didn't notice that, but she's actually quite interesting." Their voices faded into the distance as I clenched my fists by the door. "Looks like we'll need to move up the moving schedule." 8. After being reborn, I didn't share Chen Xiao's grand ambitions. He wanted piles of money, aiming to climb the social ladder using memories from his past life. All I want is to help my parents avoid that accident, stay away from Chen Xiao, and keep my distance from that lunatic Ji Shiming. I'd planned to move out after freshman year, but Ji Shiming's sudden appearance left me deeply unsettled. That unease grew tenfold when Li Jiwei, bruised head to toe and heavily pregnant, clambered through my balcony into the bedroom with visible difficulty, barely catching her breath after the ordeal. She froze mid-pant upon meeting my gaze. A choked sob escaped as she clamped a hand over her mouth, tears spilling instantly. "Please," she begged through trembling lips, "don't tell Chen Xiao, don't tell anyone. I'll just stay tonight, I swear." Her tearful eyes held desperate pleading. "I can't take it anymore. He beats me every single day, and no matter how hard I try, I just can't escape." A few months ago, Chen Xiao set Li Jiwei up in an outside residence. That period was actually somewhat peaceful for her, but as Li Jiwei's pregnancy became more visible and Chen Xiao's financial situation improved, his contempt grew. It started with slaps, then escalated to beating her with clothes hangers, leaving her body covered in bruises, trapped with no way out. Li Jiwei finally seized her chance to escape when Chen Xiao took her back to his parents' house, intending to have them keep watch over her. Li Jiwei took sips of the water I handed her while recounting the tragic events she'd endured during this period. My frown deepened as I listened, watching the still sobbing Li Jiwei before asking, "So what's your plan now? Have you thought about it?" "Huh." Li Jiwei seemed flustered, biting her lip before murmuring, "I just want to get away, maybe go home." "No, no, no. I can't go back like this. My parents would literally kill me if they saw me in this state." Li Jiwei nervously stroked her increasingly rounded belly, panic written across her face. "I don't know what to do anymore." Li Jiwei burst into tears again, unable to hold back. Her crying was giving me a headache, but I couldn't just stand by while Chen Xiao kept abusing her day after day. "Let me give you some advice. See if this works for you. First, go to the police and report Chen Xiao for both imprisoning and abusing you. Get him locked up, and he won't bother you again. That way, you'll be completely safe. Then, go home and apologize to your parents. Since it's still early, terminate the pregnancy quickly. After recovering for a while, you can return to school." This is the best solution for Li Jiwei's current situation. This is unacceptable. Li Jiwei's eyes widened as she protectively cradled her belly, her face full of disapproval. "The child is innocent. How could I possibly sacrifice my own baby for my sake? I could never do that." I felt veins bulging on my forehead but still patiently explained the pros and cons to her once more. Yet Li Jiwei remained unmoved, shielding her stomach while shaking her head repeatedly. She even took a few cautious steps backward, eyeing me warily as if fearing I might lay hands on her precious unborn child. "You can't reason with someone hellbent on destruction." 9. Li Jiwei had made up her mind, so I stopped pressing the issue. I quickly cleared a space in the room for Li Jiwei to rest. "You're pregnant. Let's discuss this tomorrow." Li Jiwei was being surprisingly well behaved, nodding repeatedly with gratitude. She tossed and turned on the makeshift cot I'd set up, creating constant rustling sounds. Her movements made it hard to fall asleep, but I forced my eyes shut anyway. Half asleep much later, I faintly heard Li Jiwei murmur, "Lin Ting, you're actually quite decent. I had no choice. Don't Blame me, the baby and I desperately need the money. Lying on my side, I slowly opened my eyes and heard Li Jiwei speaking to someone on the phone. She's asleep, get your people over here now. I'm already in position. The person on the other end seemed to ask something, to which Li snapped impatiently, yes, he promised us 200 grand, already gave me 50 up front. Once you film Lin Ting's video, we'll get the rest. Alright. Hurry over to the address I gave you, I'll come open the door, Li. Jiwei hung up the phone in a huff, then froze mid-motion when her eyes suddenly met mine. Why, you're awake. Her voice trembled slightly before she steadied it, offering me a glass of water while avoiding eye contact. Would you like some water? Sure. I met Li Jiwei's gaze and smiled. The tension instantly melted from Li Jiwei's face as she cheerfully brought me a glass of water. I sat up, watching her approach with an amused smile. The moment Li Jiwei reached my bedside, I suddenly snatched her phone from her hands. Panic flashed across her face as she lunged to grab it back. Lin Ting, what are you doing? That's my phone. Without a word, I slapped Li Jiwei hard across the face. You heard it, didn't you? Li Jiwei clutched her stinging cheek, glaring at me with venom, loud and clear. I said calmly, yanking her hair to force face recognition on her phone. As I scrolled through her chat history with another man, my heart turned to ice, until I suddenly burst into laughter. After I took you in out of kindness, you took Qin Shao's money and had your friends come after me. The farmer and the viper. Huh, I smirked at Li Jiwei who was still lunging for my phone, then slapped him again with the back of my hand. In both this life and the last, I genuinely wished for Li Jiwei to wake up and get his act together, yet it seems neither in this life nor the last has Li Jiwei ever changed his ways. She's nothing but a pretty face, brainless, wicked, and all too willing to be Qin Shao's lackey. Any sympathy I had for her vanished as I shoved the clawing phone. Snatching Li Jiwei to the ground, Li Jiwei panicked, clutching her stomach and screaming until I twisted her arms behind her back, bound them with my jacket, then gagged her with duct tape. By the time I finished, my parents had heard the commotion and came looking for me, armed with whatever they'd grabbed. My mother was shocked when she saw Li Jiwei, heavily pregnant, slumped on the floor, and tightly bound by me. Good heavens, tell me, why is this pregnant woman in your room? Are you alright? I passed Li Jiwei's phone around for both of them to examine. After reading the messages, my parents immediately started cursing. I briefly explained what had happened to them. The more my mom heard, the angrier she got. She stormed over, grabbed Li Jiwei by the collar, and started yelling at her. My daughter took you in out of kindness, and this is how you repay her, with such disgusting intentions. How could you be so vile? What kind of upbringing did your parents even give you? My mom showed restraint, unlike me, who slapped her twice right away. Li Jiwei shook her head at my mom while crying, putting on an innocent act. If it weren't for the voice messages she'd sent to that blonde-haired thug still in her phone, my mom might have actually fallen for it. How many of you are coming? My dad asked the crucial question. Li Jiwei played dumb at this point, just widening her eyes in silent tears while withholding all critical information. I watched her performance coldly, then pointed at the surveillance camera on the balcony facing my bedroom when she still refused to speak. This camera has recorded your every move and word. None of you are getting away with this. You've got two choices now. Either go down this dark path to the end, or turn yourself in and expose them. No way. I'm pregnant. That person said nothing would happen to me. Li Jiwei's blurted words instantly put me on alert. When it came to Qin Shao, she always addressed him by his full name. That sudden mention of that person conjured Ji Shiming's face in my mind. Half an hour later, Li Jiwei's thug boyfriend showed up with 5 lackeys trying to pick our front door lock. My dad was livid and wanted to charge out with a bat to drive off those bastards, but I stopped him. I ushered my parents into the bedroom, silenced Li Jiwei's phone, locked the door securely, then called the police. Those idiots were utterly incompetent. After failing to pick the lock for 30 minutes, they resorted to smashing it. As they smashed through the door and barged into my home, the arriving cops had them surrounded in no time. In his panic, Li Jiwei's thug boyfriend stabbed an arresting officer in the gut. I whispered in Li Jiwei's ear, home invasion plus assaulting an officer. Do you really think your baby will ever get to meet its father after you give birth? Li Jiwei turned deathly pale and collapsed to the floor. I said no more, watching as she and those thugs were hauled into the police car. The commotion at our place tonight was so loud that nosy neighbors were already peering toward our house from their doorways. Only the Chen family next door remained completely silent. It wasn't until the next day that Chen Shao came rushing over as if just hearing the news, grabbing me, about to take out the trash, in a tight hug. Lin Ting, thank God you're okay. Chen Shao's ecstatic voice rang in my ears, yet his furious curses echoed in my mind. Unbelievable, can't even handle such a simple task. Li Jiwei is utterly useless. What a waste of the 50 grand I gave her. Now this whole mess has blown up, making it damn hard for me to clean up. I lowered my eyelids as Chen Xiao continued. I was worried sick about you. You're alright, right? God knows what that idiot Li Jiwei was thinking. I'm fine, I said casually, brushing past Chen Xiao, but according to Li Jiwei, they were acting on someone's orders. The moment I finished speaking, Chen Xiao beside me froze abruptly, his whole demeanor betraying instinctive panic. No way, Chen Xiao asked with an unnatural expression, his tone oddly strained as if fishing for more information. No idea. When that thug was being taken away, Li Jiwei told the police he seemed willing to turn himself in. I put on a thoughtful expression, probably trying to confess for a reduced sentence. Chen Xiao's face darkened instantly. Perhaps imagining the consequences of being implicated, he abandoned his lovelorn act with me, exchanging only a few more words before bolting out the door. He wanted to seek Ji Shiming's help, but Ji wouldn't lift a finger for him. Though the idea originated from Ji Shiming, he wasn't involved in any of the actual execution. I can just picture Ji Shiming's reaction. Instead of helping the frantic Chen Xiao, he'd gleefully jump into the fray to stir up more trouble, then laugh his head off watching Chen's distress. But Chen Xiao remains completely unaware of all this, and I won't give him the slightest hint. 11. The home invasion at my place caused quite a stir in our local community. Those thugs were carrying knives and even assaulted police officers. If I hadn't called the police in time, there's no telling what could have happened next. As the situation escalated, Li Jiwei gritted her teeth and revealed Chen Xiao as the mastermind behind it all. The police showed up at the Chen residence shortly after Chen Xiao had gone to find Ji Shiming. The police spent the entire afternoon at the Chen residence, but Chen Xiao never showed up. It seemed he'd gotten wind of something. The man vanished without a trace, like he'd evaporated into thin air. Chen Xiao's parents were placed under heavy surveillance. Soon the whole neighborhood knew he was connected to the thugs who broke into my home, sparking widespread panic. Even the vegetable vendor who usually chatted with Mrs. Chen refused to sell to her. But none of this really concerned me. Our family was about to move anyway. After that night's incident, my parents immediately put my moving proposal on the fast track. My dad found a new place in record time and was ready to relocate us. As I was leaving, I ran into Mrs. Chen downstairs. The once plump Mrs. Chen had shockingly lost over 10 pounds in a short time, looking a decade older. Listen, Mrs. Chen called out to stop me. I halted and stood before the woman who had once treated me so kindly. Mrs. Chen seemed to have much to say. Her lips quivered as she opened and closed her mouth several times, but in the end, she only managed, "Our Chen Xiao has wronged you." Without responding, I walked past her and headed downstairs. At the stairwell, I instinctively turned back and saw Mrs. Chen hunched over, carefully making her way upstairs. Chen Xiao's transformation this year turned their joy into profound grief. The elderly couple lived in constant fear for Chen Xiao at home. While he vanished without a trace with their money, I moved away, completely severing ties with Chen Xiao and all that messy business. Day after day, I mechanically attended classes, waiting for the college entrance exams to arrive. Little did I know that one afternoon after school, I'd be dragged into a car, blindfolded, and bound hand and foot. Completely immobilized, I sat quietly in the back seat, making no attempt to struggle or resist, unnaturally docile. Then a low, muffled chuckle reached my ears. The man sitting behind me leaned in and asked, "Why aren't you fighting back?" That familiar voice, that familiar scent. I knew him so well I could predict his next words. "It's no fun if you don't struggle." Ji Shiming's slightly regretful voice overlapped with the one in my imagination. The next instant, light flooded my vision as I opened my eyes to see Ji Shiming beside me. "You knew it was me all along?" Ji Shiming asked with a squinting smile, twirling a strand of my hair that had fallen over my shoulder. I remained passive under Ji Shiming's wandering hands, neither resisting nor speaking, until he brought me to his family's suburban villa. There in the basement, my pupils contracted at the sight of Chen Xiao convulsing on the floor. "Just a little more, please, just a little more." Chen Xiao crawled on the ground, desperately reaching for Ji Shiming's pant leg, only to be kicked away. "What did you do to him?" These were the first words I spoke after Ji Shiming had dragged me here. Ji Shiming suddenly flashed a wide grin and revealed what was behind him. "Honey, I've just perfected something special. Care to give it a try?" I calmly raised my eyes to meet Ji Shiming's frenzied gaze. 12. When did you get back? I distinctly remembered how Ji Shiming still carried a boyish innocence during our last meeting, far less unhinged than his previous incarnation. The current Ji Shiming was identical to his past self in every way, except for the lingering softness of youth in his unformed features, that neurotic tone of his, the erratic behavior, and his perpetually unhinged mental state. I knew it all too well. so well that meeting him again sent involuntary shivers down my spine, yet Ji Shiming either didn't notice my discomfort, or worse, my fears seemed to delight him. When this idiot came whining to me about failing to have you roughed up, then had the nerve to beg for help covering his tracks, Ji Shiming kicked Chen Xiao again, snarling at me. Do you have any idea how furious I am? Why, how could you ever have been close with this piece of trash? He deserves to die. So when he came crawling for help, I agreed immediately. As long as he becomes my lab rat, I'll clear his record and deal with those street thugs at the precinct. Ji Shiming grinned at me. One glance at Chen Xiao convulsing on the floor told me Ji Shiming had broken his promise. Only Chen Xiao, arrogant as a fool, had charged headlong into Ji Shiming's trap and ended up like this. Pitying him, a pair of hands suddenly clamped around my throat. Ji Shiming's eyes turned vicious as his grip tightened, cutting off my air. Ji Shiming is a complete madman. He only hears what he wants to hear and sees what he wants to see. In my past life, the slightest defiance would earn me relentless torment. This time is different. I'm no longer the caged canary under Ji Shiming's control, nor am I alone anymore. Gripping the lunch bag tightly, I swung it straight at Ji Shiming's head with all my might. With a sharp smack, Ji Shiming staggered back several steps, caught completely off guard by my strike. Clutching his bleeding head, he looked at me not with anger, but with delight and approval. Ting ting, you're amazing. Ji Shiming grinned widely at me. You're way more fun now than when you're grown up, so tiny, yet packing quite a punch. Keep your madness to yourself. I coughed twice, catching my breath before swiftly pulling out the stun gun I'd prepared from my bag. Ji Shiming, this isn't our past life. We have no connection now. Let me go. No connection. Ji Shiming advanced step by step, his gaze burning into my body. What do you think about making things irreversible? Listen, give me a child. Last lifetime you couldn't bear me a daughter. This time, you will. Agreed. My body tensed as I watched Ji Shiming approach step by step. The moment he lunged at me, I jammed the stun gun straight into his abdomen. Useless. Ji Shiming convulsed violently yet showed no sign of collapsing, instead flashing me a grotesquely wide grin. Stop struggling. You've been mine from the very beginning. There's no escape from my grasp. Staggering sideways, Ji Shiming reached out and triggered the alarm. I clearly heard footsteps running across the villa's upper floor. Ji Shiming's bodyguards were rushing toward the basement. He intended to imprison me just like Chen Xiao, without anyone noticing. You lunatic. I spat through gritted teeth as the arriving guards bound my limbs and forced me before Ji Shiming, having recovered from the electric shock. Ji Shiming snatched the stun baton from me with a grin, cranked it to maximum voltage, and drove it viciously into my side. Before passing out, I only heard him say coolly, listen now, you've grown too wild, naughty kittens must be punished. Struggling weakly, I spat in his face before darkness consumed me completely. 13. When I opened my eyes again, pure whiteness filled my vision. Lying on the hospital bed, my head felt foggy and disoriented, like walking on cotton wool. It wasn't until I saw my parents rushing in frantically that I grasped a sliver of reality. Did they catch him? Were my first words upon waking. My mother kept nodding at me, her eyes never leaving mine. At this moment, my heart that had been weighed down with fear for days finally settled. When Chen Xiao went missing, I immediately suspected Ji Shiming was behind it. Ji Shiming's mind doesn't operate on normal logic. To protect myself from him, I carry at least 3 trackers whenever I go out and check in with my mom hourly. I've warned my parents to call the police at the first sign of anything unusual happening to me. After Ji Shiming forced me into the car, I kept restraining myself, staying calm while waiting for rescue. Just as Ji was about to assault me, my parents and the police broke in and got me out. I was physically unharmed, but Chen Xiao lost every penny he'd scraped together and got hooked on drugs, completely ruined. With ironclad evidence of Chen Xiao orchestrating Li Jiwei's home invasion robbery, he was immediately taken in for interrogation. As they dragged Chen Xiao away, he kept struggling and screaming through his sobs, this can't be happening. I was supposed to get a second chance. I was meant to be a winner in life, not this. There must be some mistake. Rumor has it Chen's parents turned gray overnight, running around trying to pull strings, even considering approaching our family for a letter of forgiveness. When Mom told me this, she glanced at me cautiously, as if afraid I might soften my stance. Don't worry, Mom. I'm not an idiot, I said with a chuckle, popping a piece of orange into my mouth. I'm not naive enough to forgive someone who's actively trying to harm me. Chen Xiao's crimes were heinous and hard to deny, yet he stubbornly dragged Ji Shiming into it. He insisted that everything he did was instigated by Ji Shiming. Ji Shiming remained unfazed. His wealthy, influential family had hired top-tier lawyers, but none of it, the home invasions, the kidnappings, could compare to the sheer gravity of what Ji Shiming was producing in that tiny basement workshop in his previous life. Ji Shiming only began researching these things after he grew up. Who would have thought that after being reborn, he'd get a head start and secure 15 years worth of work right off the bat. They met again in court, where Chen Xiao was desperately trying to shift blame, pointing at Ji Shiming and ranting, "He orchestrated everything, he's the mastermind, and he stole my 500 grand, may he rot in hell." Ji Shiming gave an indifferent yawn without making a sound, simply letting his lawyer handle the response. The Ji family's lawyer attempted to use Ji Shiming's alleged mental instability as a legal defense. Ji Shiming's gaze swept across the room before settling on me, offering a faint smile with a raised eyebrow, the picture of nonchalance. Just as I was puzzling over the situation, a gaunt woman emerged from the corner, yanking his hair while shrieking in a piercing voice. The trial dragged on for nearly 2 months before authorities officially diagnosed Ji Shiming with schizophrenia, reducing his original 15-year sentence to a mere 18-month probation. The entire courtroom wore grim expressions, except for him, who smugly let out a triumphant whistle. My face darkened as I watched Ji Shiming saunter toward me with deliberate slowness. Just then, as he passed Chen Xiao, the latter suddenly lunged and tackled him to the ground. Before anyone could react, Chen Xiao smashed his fist into the man's eye. With bloodshot eyes, he roared, "It's all your fault, you damned bitch, ruined my life, I'll kill you. Why do you get off scot-free while I take all the blame?" Chen Xiao kept shouting as he threw punch after punch, each blow fueled by sheer rage. The crowd erupted into chaos as people rushed to pull Chen Xiao off Ji Shiming, but it was too late. Ji Shiming lay sprawled on the ground, his face drenched in blood, his breathing shallow and labored. With bitter resentment, he fixed his gaze on me, lips trembling as if trying to speak, yet no sound emerged before his eyes closed. Forever shielded by my parents, I was ushered away while Ji Shiming was stretchered to the hospital, and Chen Xiao was dragged back to his cell. Chen Xiao beat Ji Shiming so severely that the latter suffered brain damage and became vegetative. Chen Xiao's smug expression completely vanished upon hearing his life sentence verdict. He kept screaming all day, even attempting suicide multiple times while muttering, "I'll restart my life. Next time I'll do way better than this." Rumor has it Chen Xiao attacked a prison guard attempting murder, but the officer shot him in self-defense. Chen Xiao survived the ordeal, but came back a changed man, vacant-eyed and prone to bursting into tears or laughter at the sky. But none of that concerned me anymore. With freshman year finally over, I felt weightless with relief. My parents asked, "Ting Ting, how about a family trip?" "Perfect," I beamed. "Let's all go on vacation together." The end. Story 2. I took meticulous care of the paralyzed Zhou Yuan for 2 years, and everyone assumed the first thing he'd do upon standing up would be to marry me. Only I asked on the night of his successful surgery, "Do you still want to marry me?" He hesitated, and in the end, that simple answer never left his lips. I chuckled softly, "I understand." I took off the ring and left without hesitation that night, the place I had lived for 2 years. 1. "Do you still want to marry me?" Zhou Yuan was slightly stunned upon hearing these words, staring at his legs for a long time without speaking. The noise outside came through the unclosed door crack. The doctor said Brother Zhou's surgery was very successful, and he'll recover completely in less than half a month. I truly never thought brother could recover. 2 years ago, he had almost given up on himself. Thanks to sister-in-law's unwavering support, they're definitely getting married. Right, we should prepare wedding gifts early. Zhou Yuan heard these boisterous well-wishes but ultimately remained silent. The air was thick with an awkward atmosphere. In the end, it was me who stood up and massaged his knees and calves as usual, considerately offering him an out. "Is this pressure okay?" This finally broke the awkward atmosphere. His tense body gradually relaxed, and as I had done for the past 2 years, I softly asked, "Does it hurt anywhere?" He shook his head and answered earnestly, "No, you massage better than the nurses do." I stared blankly at my hands massaging his legs. Truth be told, I didn't know how to do it at first. It was because he couldn't stand the nurses touching his body. Every time they came, he would lose his temper and chase them away. But massage was an essential thing for his legs, so I spent 3 months learning from the massage parlor owner, starting with soaking medicinal solutions and practicing on myself. I finally cautiously began massaging his legs. The first time, I only dared to gently knead while he was asleep. He's a light sleeper and still noticed. Flying into a rage, "Get out." I didn't leave. I massaged the acupoints again according to what the massage parlor owner had shown me. His legs couldn't move, so he threw a pillow at my head. I remained unmoved, and he ended up hurling everything within reach toward me. Finally, it was a photo frame containing his university picture, one hand holding a trophy, the other clenched in a fist, full of vigor and spirit as warm blood trickled down my temple. He looked at me, struggling to reach my side, but the limitations of his legs left him. Utterly helpless finally, he covered his face and suddenly burst into tears. Go, just leave, don't stay by my side, it's no use, I can't feel anything, no matter how hard I press. Too, back then, he had given up on himself, but I came to massage him every day without fail, rain or shine, until his mother discovered he had swallowed sleeping pills and rushed him to the hospital in panic. His mother couldn't handle him, so I crouched in front of him and said, "Look at me." He obediently looked at me, and I said, "Everything will be alright, trust me." At that time, even I didn't know where my confidence came from. From that day on, I moved into his house. Zhou Yuan's mother tearfully thanked me over and over, saying it was fortunate I was there. She hesitated to speak further, and I knew what she wanted to ask, so I said, "As long as Zhou Yuan doesn't drive me away, I'll stay by his side." But the truth is, even when he tried to drive me away, I didn't leave. When yet another massage proved useless, he flew into a rage. "Get out, all of you." By then he was already in a wheelchair, having smashed the entire bedroom to pieces, but the good thing was, he at least avoided hitting me and stopped throwing things at me. After he finished venting, I moved close to him and said once more, "Zhou Yuan, trust me." This phrase has been said for 2 years. Gradually, his legs could feel pressure, and then slowly perform some simple movements. Until yesterday's surgery, the doctors were amazed, saying the operation was very successful, barring any accidents. He can stand up now. 3. Zhou Yuan's mother knew the news and shoved the bank card into my hand. I stared at the bank card in a daze. These past 2 years, I wasn't doing it just for a bank card. All of Zhou Yuan's friends call me sister-in-law, but only I know the truth. I'm hardly worthy of that title. We didn't even confess our feelings, let alone establish any relationship, but fortunately, I had Zhou Yuan's promise. 1. Once my leg heals, we'll get married immediately. That was during his first treatment when the doctor tactfully expressed regret, and I was pushing him home. After entering the house, he completely broke down. The sudden fall from grace for someone who was always the golden boy would be unbearable for anyone. I held him tightly, and he bit into my shoulder. The bite was too deep and too fierce, and now my shoulder still bears the teeth marks. When he saw the blood, he snapped out of it and panically said to me, I'm sorry." After apologizing, I massaged his calf as usual, and he said these words. "No." He even asked, "Suwan, do you have a crush on me?" I didn't stay silent. Looking at him, I said, "Yes." He stared at me for a long moment before saying he'd marry me, but I didn't do all those things for an equivalent exchange. I just wanted him to feel the same way I did, praying that one day he might love me too. At that moment, I stood up as usual, poured the medicated oil into my palm to warm it, and only then touched his calf. I knew he was watching me. After a long while, his voice came from above my head. 1. You don't need to do these things anymore." My hands paused briefly, but I stubbornly finished the massage. Tilting my head up, I asked again with desperate hope, "Zhou Yuan, do you still want to marry me?" He seemed to hesitate, words on the tip of his tongue, but ultimately remained silent. I can only laugh at my own wishful thinking, but the ring on my ring finger was placed there by his own hand. After secretly loving him for so many years, how could I not indulge in wishful thoughts? For I stood up and washed the medicinal oil off my hands. The ring on my ring finger is pressing painfully against my heart. He spoke outside the door. 1. You are my sister. Tears fell into the water as I quickly wiped them away. Don't say such things. Words like these are too cruel for me. As I pushed open the bathroom door and stepped out, the living room was still bustling with noise. I lowered my head to look into Zhou Yuan's eyes, struggling to remove the ring. Actually, the ring size was wrong, a size too small. I couldn't tell if he was careless or if it wasn't meant for me in the first place, but I knew that forcing it onto my finger, a size too small, made my finger ache from the tightness. Before, I could still deceive myself into thinking all rings were like this. When I finally took it off, my finger felt relieved, and I actually regretted not removing it sooner. Zhou Yuan avoided eye contact as I held the ring out to him. "Here, take it back." The marks on the fingers were clear, so I added, "It's gotten smaller." He wanted to say something, but I waved him off, pushed him out the door. 5. As soon as we stepped out, friends in the living room practically swarmed around us. "What sweet nothings are you two lovebirds whispering that even we can't hear? Don't worry, we won't tease you today, we'll save it for your wedding day. We'll leave after playing with you a little longer." Zhou Yuan's friends, just like him, are polite and know their boundaries. Considering Zhou Yuan had just undergone surgery, everyone brought juice and light food. Someone asked Zhou Yuan, "Brother Zhou, when you recover, let's go skiing at Titli's together again." Zhou Yuan responded as usual, no longer showing stress reactions when skiing or basketball were mentioned. His friend turned to me and said, "Sis-in-law should come too, brother Zhou will. Book your ticket, you'll absolutely love it." Zhou Yuan looked up at me and threw the question back to me. Being rejected twice in a row, even someone as shameless as me has self-respect, I said. "You guys go ahead," but Zhou Yuan suddenly spoke up. "It doesn't matter if we all go have fun together, anyway, I treat you like a little sister." As these words fell, everyone immediately fell silent. His friend laughed and patted his head. "Zhou Yuan, what kind of joke are you making?" Immediately more friends jumped in to defuse the situation. "His leg just healed, his head's not clear yet, sister-in-law. Don't take it to heart." This sentence was casually tossed around in playful banter, but Zhou Yuan remained silent from start to finish. 6. I recalled a long time ago when a close friend saw the ring on my ring finger and asked me, "Wan, are you sure? They're not from the same world as us. If his legs heal, would he really marry you?" Back then I didn't dare to voice that answer, and even now I still don't. I knew Zhou Yuan had given me the answer. No, the gathering had a harmonious atmosphere, with soft music playing as everyone reminisced about past memories. I lowered my head and searched for Titli's less known. It's a locally famous ski resort. I couldn't understand a word they said, and it was then I vaguely grasped my friend's remark about not being from the same world. I stood up, and Zhou Yuan's gaze immediately fell upon me. I returned to my own bedroom, though to call it mine would be a stretch, as everything in it was furnished by Zhou Yuan's mother. I made a call to the woman who had tearfully thanked me 2 years ago. Rubbing my fingertips, I asked, "Auntie, about that bank card of yours." She seemed eager for me to bring it up, cutting me off before I could finish. "The pin is 6 zeros. Take whatever you need. Thank you for looking after Zhou Yuan these past 2 years." I let out a heavy There was nothing to pack. I threw my only few pieces of clothing into the trash. I left the house with that card. Passing through the living room, Zhou Yuan's friend asked me, "Sis, it's so late, what are you doing?" I didn't want to put Zhou Yuan in a difficult position, so I smiled brightly. "I'm hungry, I'll go out for a bowl of wontons." They were clamoring to order takeout, but I refused. A single takeout order would cost you hundreds. "It's not worth it." Zhou Yuan seemed to realize something, looking up at me without blinking. I waved at the people inside. "I'm heading out now." At 1 a.m., I left this place where I had lived for 2 years with just a bank card. It wasn't a total loss. 7. I found myself a place to stay. No need to watch over Zhou Yuan constantly, no fear of his sudden mental breakdown at night. The body suddenly relaxed, not yet accustomed to the feeling. Instead of sleeping, I held a cup of water and watched the sparse stars from the balcony. In the complete silence, I began listening to my own voice. I thought I would feel sad or heartbroken, but there wasn't. I just touched the red mark left on my ring finger and started wondering when it would fade. That night, I only felt that the wind was a bit chilly, and the stars in the sky were unusually bright. Zhou Yuan called in the early hours of the next morning, but when I answered, there was silence on his end. In the end, I was the one who spoke up. "Is there something you need?" He finally spoke tentatively. "Suwan, I'd like custard buns for breakfast." After becoming paralyzed from the waist down, he refused to eat. I tried one thing after another, but he kept his mouth shut, refusing to take a single bite. Finally, my tears fell to the ground as I begged, "Please take just one bite. You can't go without eating." Perhaps annoyed by my crying, he finally frowned and bit into the custard bun. He doesn't like store-bought ones because I learned how to make them, but everything from yesterday remains vivid in my mind, and I still remember his silence. I said calmly, "Zhou Yuan, I'm leaving." 8. The other end of the phone fell silent. For a long moment, not knowing what to say, I simply hung up. The bank card held an astonishing amount of money. Counting those zeros left me in a daze. After counting several times, I still couldn't believe it. Only after carefully putting away the card did I understand my best friend's words. "You're from different worlds." Indeed, my parents are just ordinary people. They knew I was taking care of my paralyzed boyfriend and still came to visit me. At that time, Zhou Yuan's mother warmly entertained them, and they were at a loss. When they returned home, they told me, "Sweetheart, it's a bit difficult," but they didn't stop me, just waved their hands and said, "It's fine, go ahead and try. At worst, you can always come back home." Only now, 2 years later, do I vaguely understand Zhou Yuan's mother's actions. Even Zhou Yuan was surprised by those plates of exquisite dishes, let alone 2 ordinary folks from the county town. Zhou Yuan's mother warmly entertained us, but it was clearly meant to show off to my parents. We're not from the same world. I simply used that card to buy a new apartment, without even reducing the balance by a single zero. After being busy with renovations and various tasks, I unexpectedly saw Zhou Yuan again at the coffee shop near the neighborhood entrance. Half a month later, his friends were pushing and teasing him. "Zhou Yuan, if you don't win Suwon back, I'll look down on you. Just apologize to her, who else could be your wife but her, I'll just acknowledge her. 9. Zhou Yuan hadn't been out for 2 years, his fair complexion glaringly pale under the sunlight. Hearing his friend's half-insistent, half-teasing banter, he curled his lips dismissively. If Suwon appears before me right now, then we'll talk. Unfortunately, I was sitting right behind them at the next table. I instinctively dodged aside upon hearing those words, but the next second my friend came out of the coffee shop and called my name excitedly. Wanwan. She ran over to share with me, "There's cake you like today, Zhou Yuan," and his table immediately fell silent as I watched their gazes follow my friend's movement and land on me. My friend placed the cake in front of me and asked with confusion at my sudden change of expression, "What's wrong?" She tensed up instinctively because of my expression. Then I realized it was just their group making a fuss. Why should I let them affect my mood? My expression changed. "It's fine, sit down, you still remember I like this cake, huh?" This single sentence opened the floodgates of conversation. Being too close, Zhou Yuan's table's voices inevitably carried over. "It's heaven's will, Zhou Yuan, you should go apologize. Such a wonderful sister-in-law. I don't believe you'll meet a second one like her. Let me tell you, if you don't explain clearly, we can't be friends anymore." I recognized every voice. They had each come to visit Zhou Yuan when he was paralyzed in bed. Among them was a girl who had a crush on Zhou Yuan. When she went into the room to see Zhou Yuan, he deliberately spilled water on her skirt. The weather is hot, the skirt is thin, and when it gets wet, the skin becomes immediately visible. The girl stood there awkwardly, and I handed her a shawl. Zhou Yuan's expression was cold as he looked at her and sneered, "You still like me even like this?" The girl's eyes were red, and I gently closed the door. After coming out, she lifted her head proudly and said to me, "I don't want to like Zhou Yuan anymore, he's not worth it." After saying that, she left holding up her dripping wet skirt, but turned back halfway. Watching me clean up the water stains from her skirt in the living room, she awkwardly said, "But you're really nice, thank you. You shouldn't like Zhou Yuan either, he's not good enough for you." After saying that, she quickly ran away. Later we became friends and would exchange gifts during holidays. The people around Zhou Yuan aren't bad. I was lost in these thoughts. While listening to my friend's words, it was when Zhou Yuan's voice sounded that I realized he was standing beside me. He called my name, Suwon. I looked up instinctively, his brows furrowed tightly, but when he saw me, he suddenly seemed unable to speak. His friends behind him started teasing, "Zhou Yuan, apologize and win your girl back." Hearing this, Zhou Yuan's frown deepened. "But now I don't need his apology. Relationships should be based on mutual willingness. Besides, didn't I take the bank card? I still haven't counted all the zeros in the balance. One can't have their cake and eat it too." Zhou Yuan stood dumbfounded before me as I spoke to his conflicted expression. "No need, I don't need apologies." Hearing this, he breathed a sigh of relief, turned halfway, then looked back at me and asked, "When are you going back?" Perhaps I didn't explain clearly last time, so this time I made it more explicit. "I'm not going back." Zhou Yuan seemed lost in thought, staring at me heavily before finally responding with a quiet He turned back to his own desk, where his familiar friends were all watching the commotion. "So, did you win her back? When are you two getting married? When will I get my wedding candies?" "I won't get married." Zhou Yuan's voice was light, carrying a hint of impatience. The entire table suddenly fell silent. Zhou Yuan repeated it again, his voice unconsciously rising. "Why would you think I'd marry her? Just because I'm grateful to her. I should marry her. I told you, I see her as a younger sister. This is the third time. People shouldn't push their luck when given face." I also stood up directly and said to his friends, "You've misunderstood about the marriage. I'm just being paid to take care of Zhou Yuan." Zhou Yuan looked up at me with a heavy gaze, and I met his eyes openly and unflinchingly. Looking at his furrowed brows, I said, "You don't have to treat me like a sister. A stranger would be fine." 10. While taking care of Zhou Yuan, sometimes I couldn't help but wonder if Will hadn't been in that car accident, would he have fallen in love with Clark? At first I thought yes, then I thought no. I kept oscillating between yes and no, and in the end this question remained unanswered. I don't know their answers, but I know mine and Zhou Yuan's. Zhou Yuan fell in love, making a big show of it. He announced it publicly on social media, openly introducing the girl to his friends, making it impossible for me not to know. I met Zhou Yuan and his girlfriend at a party. With so many mutual friends, no one expected us to run into each other. When Zhou Yuan walked in with his girlfriend, my friend beside me squeezed my hand tightly. After all, They'd all seen how I took care of Zhou Yuan those 2 years. I gave her a reassuring smile and openly looked at the girl Zhou Yuan had brought in. Nothing special, 2 eyes and 1 mouth. Zhou Yuan also saw me and casually took a seat in the corner by the door. When sitting down, he asked the waiter for a fruit platter. When the fruit platter arrived, he placed it in front of the girl, who smiled with crescent eyes and leaned in to whisper in his ear. The girl joyfully shared with him, but he wouldn't even lower his head, his gaze lazily fixed on the fruit platter as he half-heartedly listened. Anyone could see his obvious lack of attention. If this is how he acts in a relationship, it's actually quite dull. I wasn't provoked, but my friend was. She got drunk and insisted on setting me up with someone, while I patiently explained she was wasted. As I helped her out the door, Zhou Yuan's girlfriend and I locked eyes. "Sis, I recognize you." My steps halted as she continued, "Thank you for taking care of Zhou Yuan." I nodded and tried to walk away while supporting my friend. The girl was so eager to win a round against me that she didn't notice the sudden quiet atmosphere around her, hastily standing up in front of me. But if I had stayed by Zhou Yuan's side back then, I could have done it too. The constant outbursts of temper to endure, the casually thrown water cups, and the inability to sleep deeply. She said she could do it too. I let out a light chuckle. Anyone can say things, but there's no such what if. But it's not certain either. What if Zhou Yuan's leg acts up again? She could try seeing if she can take care of him. Zhou Yuan had already turned pale, and a friend stepped in to ease the tension. I also joked to lighten the mood. If it really comes to that, might as well spend some money to hire a nurse. Just this one sentence, and Zhou Yuan still got angry. Bang, the glass hit the table heavily, and I turned my face to look. He frowned and spoke impatiently. "It's all in the past, why bring it up? So boring." "But it's all in the past, why can't it be mentioned?" It's him who doesn't want to be reminded. He considers it humiliating. 11. When my friend sobered up the next day and heard about it, he couldn't stop cursing. "What does she mean by flaunting it right in your face? Let her flaunt if she wants to." I counted the zeros in my bank account balance and thought, I'm actually not even angry. It was at this moment I realized just how powerful money can be. But my friend thought I was just putting on a brave face and brought it up again. "Zhou Yuan is already in a relationship. Do you want me to help you find a boyfriend? With your qualities, it'd be a piece of cake." Nowadays, people are used to fast-paced relationships, but I still want to slow down, meet someone, and take the time to understand love, exchanging sincerity for sincerity. I politely declined. "No need." Because of my refusal, my friend firmly believed that I was still heartbroken over Zhou Yuan and waiting for him. She was scolding Zhou Yuan on the side, and I laughed along while adding a few curses of my own. As days passed slowly, I learned baking and flower arrangement. During this time, several people tried to court me, but when I suggested we take time to get to know each other, they retreated as if facing a great threat. Then, within less than half a month, I'd see news of them finding a girlfriend. My friends joke that I'm a professional matchmaker. I laugh too, but I'm genuinely in no hurry. When taking care of Zhou Yuan, my heart was completely devoted to him. Now I want to focus on myself first. I want to empty my heart before accepting someone else. I think the person I accept in the future should be as sincere as I am. I still look forward to genuine hearts meeting. 12. Zhou Yuan and I broke up, yet we were back together in less than a week. Another grand public announcement, and friends gradually accepted the fact that Zhou Yuan and I were never meant to be. Like Clark, I learned to dive, spending every day exploring fascinating underwater worlds with my gear. Though I was away from City A for half a year, news about Zhou Yuan still found its way to my ears. He broke up again, perhaps came to his senses, and suddenly stopped. Zhou Yuan's friends jokingly hinted to me that he's now single, urging me to come back. With the new year approaching, I had no choice but to return home. But I didn't expect everyone to be waiting for me. As soon as I got off the plane, Zhou Yuan's friends all came and teased me. "Wanwanjia, you've gotten quite tanned." They didn't distance themselves from me just because Zhou Yuan and I didn't end up together. On the day Zhou Yuan and I had our talk, one friend even sent me a special message. "Wanwanjia, even without Zhou Yuan, I'd still want to be friends with you." But I never expected that Zhou Yuan would come too. He stood far in the distance, lost in thought, but in the end, he took a step forward and said to me, "Long time no see." Half a year ago, his attitude toward me still carried a hint of resentment, yet now he greeted me like an old friend saying, "Long time no see." I politely replied, "Long time no see." He spoke carefully. "My leg." He was interrupted mid-sentence by my ringtone, and I smiled apologetically at them answering the call. A youthful voice chimed brightly, "Sis, where are you?" His cheerfulness was contagious. "I'll send you my location, no rush, take your time coming over." After hanging up the phone, my friends all gathered around me, Deciding on a place to eat, I waited for them to finish speaking before asking, "Can we add one more person?" They were all surprised. Add who? What kind of person? The bright orange windbreaker was dazzlingly eye-catching. I told him to slow down, but he still ran all the way to my side. He directly held my hand and said clingingly, "I missed you so much." His movement was too fast for friends to react in time. I tried to take the box from his hands, but he refused. Only then did I introduce to my friend, Qingyang, my boyfriend, 13. Sometimes, fate works in strange ways, arriving suddenly at the most unexpected moments. Qingyang confessed to me, and as usual, I told him to take it slow. Honestly, I had prepared myself for him to give up after 2 weeks, but I never expected him to persist for so long. By the time I came to my senses, traces of him were everywhere around me. I'm not young anymore, and when people around me hear me say take it slow, they think I'm stringing them along, but young people wouldn't think that way. When they hear take it slow, they truly mean taking it slow, sincere and passionate. You've kept it well hidden. If it weren't for this trip back, we probably wouldn't have met. No way, you're paying for this meal. It's not that I hid well enough, but I never expected him to come back with me. I missed my flight due to traffic, and when rescheduling for the next one, he pitifully messaged, "Why aren't you here yet? I hate you." Only then did I realize he had bought the seat next to mine to surprise me, but we ended up missing each other by sheer coincidence. He had landed early and was waiting at the airport, and we had just reunited. My friends were still teasing, and I raised my hand with a smile, saying, "My treat, my treat." Qingyang mimicked my gesture of raising his hand and copied my tone, saying, "My treat, my treat." He has an outgoing personality and quickly became familiar with his friends. When they sat down at the restaurant, Qingyang joined them unexpectedly, and the seating turned out to be just right. Only then did someone notice Zhou Yuan hadn't arrived. They called him, and Zhou Yuan's voice sounded unclear. My legs suddenly felt bad, so I went to the hospital. How could they possibly fit in this situation, so sudden? "Are you okay? What did the doctor say?" "It's fine, the doctor just said I need some rest. You guys go ahead and eat. I'll treat you next time." Although Zhou Yuan said that the previous incident was too serious, and his family background was a factor, seeing their troubled expressions, I took the initiative to offer a way out. "You should go check on Zhou Yuan. This meal can happen anytime." Just as Qingyang and I were tired, we wanted to go back and rest. Qingyang wasn't angry about the sudden turn of events either. Cheerfully seeing them off, I took Qingyang home, and along the way he excitedly pointed at the flowers and plants by the roadside, asking all sorts of questions. He had endless things to say every day, even stopping to chat with dogs on the street. When I got home, no one could have imagined that the person from the hospital was actually standing at my doorstep. Qingyang's grip on my hand paused as he saw Zhou Yuan step forward and speak first. "Brother Zhou Yuan, is that you?" His voice carried a hint of laughter, appearing exceptionally amiable, even addressing him as brother. I instinctively glanced at him. Zhou Yuan smiled at him but didn't answer his question. He looked at me and called out, "Su Wan, 14. His gaze fell upon me. "Long time no see," he said again. Even though Qingyang was being ignored, he didn't show any unhappiness, just obediently held my hand and stood by my side. Zhou Yuan seemed about to say something more, but I stepped forward to interrupt him and proactively introduced Qingyang. "This is my boyfriend, Qingyang." Upon hearing this, Zhou Yuan forced a smile at the corner of his mouth and after a long pause responded quietly, After speaking, he added, "There might be something wrong with my leg." Qingyang spoke up at the right moment, anxiously concerned. "If there's a problem with your leg, you should go to the hospital immediately." He patiently asked, "Do you need me to call an ambulance for you?" After taking out his phone, he explained earnestly, "After all, my girlfriend isn't a doctor." Zhou Yuan ignored him and called out to me again, "Wan Wan." Qingyang ignored him and asked me directly, "Sister, why isn't he paying attention to me?" How should I know why Zhou Yuan is ignoring him? Zhou Yuan called out to me again, "Wan Wan." Qingyang kept pestering me, bringing his face close to mine and asking, "Sister, why?" I swatted his head away. "I don't know." He leaned his face in again. I could never resist him. Subconsciously, I took out my house key to unlock the door, only realizing at the threshold that Zhou Yuan was still standing beside me. Qingyang said without hesitation, "Sis, you forgot brother Zhou Yuan is still at the door." Zhou Yuan's expression nearly faltered. Noticing my gaze upon him, he finally spoke, "Shall we talk?" Qingyang shook my hand. "Sister, what are you going to say to him?" Only then did I realize his uncharacteristically green tea attitude from the very beginning. Belatedly following his lead, I said, "I won't say anything to him." After saying that, I closed the door, and Qingyang came in and hugged me. "I'm jealous." I patted his head, What are you jealous of? When we first started dating, I told him everything without holding back, knowing about my past with Zhou Yuan. What else could he be worried about? I hate that you're so dense. I don't know how to respond. But before I could answer, he cheered up again. What is good? He spoke in a muffled, small voice, can't even see when others show kindness, but that very night, Zhou Yuan still called. Wan, did you know your boyfriend has a 4-year-long first love? 15. Zhou Yuan was really hospitalized. The situation is unknown. His ex-girlfriends who previously said they would take care of him went to the hospital one after another. My friends even made bets to see how many days they could last at most. The result was 2 days. Most of them left the hospital within a few hours. A friend said he deserved it, repeatedly telling me not to be soft-hearted. Of course I won't be soft-hearted. Since taking that card, I've never thought of looking back. Zhou Yuan's mother suddenly sent a message one night. Wan, can you meet Zhou Yuan alone? When she messaged me, Qingyang was right beside me. I seriously declined. Sorry, my boyfriend might mind. She called, pleading desperately. I beg you, I'll pay any amount you want. Zhou Yuan can't go without eating. I'm begging you, just let him eat. Why would something like this happen to Zhou Yuan? She spoke incoherently, her voice breaking down from her fragmented words. I gathered that Zhou Yuan's hospitalization wasn't a minor issue, and Zhou cried out loud, why should something like this happen to us? Please help me. He can't go without eating. Qingyang sat obediently aside, not wanting to put me in a difficult position, and generously said, meeting once is no big deal. Don't worry about me, but it doesn't matter anymore. Why insist on this one meeting? And once I meet them once, they'll use it as an excuse to make me meet countless times. I remained firm with the distraught woman. I'm sorry, I don't owe you anything. I have my own life to live, and so does Zhou Yuan. The next day, I learned from a friend that Zhou Yuan's leg had developed issues. The small probability event the doctor mentioned had actually happened to him. After standing up, his muscles atrophied, and it was very likely he'd have to return to his previous way of life. During that time, even when I stayed by his side, he could hardly bear it, not to mention having experienced the feeling of standing up again. Now there's another problem, being told I might be paralyzed. I didn't reply to that message. When Zhou Yuan suddenly called, I thought he was calling to ask about the massage and medicated oil, but no, he said, Wan, believe it or not, you and your little boyfriend won't last. I didn't answer, and he continued, want to make a bet? He said, let's bet on your boyfriend's loyalty. I don't know how to bet on loyalty, but I know that the moment you think about testing it, trust immediately crumbles. I won't accompany you in such a pointless bet. But he didn't care about my refusal. He said one last thing, just wait and see. All men are the same. I brushed this incident aside as a mere episode. The next few days were continuously busy due to the approaching new year. Qingyang wanted to hang out with me here and asked me several times, but I never had time. He was dejected, with disappointment written all over his face. Eventually realizing I was genuinely busy, he started wandering around the city alone. His personality never lacks friends, and I'm not worried about him not being able to make any. Sure enough, in just 2 short days, he was already able to go out with great enthusiasm. In the morning, he would leave before I even got up. Sometimes I'd wake up just in time to see him. Other times I'd only find the note he left when going to the living room while still half asleep. As the notes piled up, unease slowly crept in. Belatedly, what is he doing? Who is he meeting with? I remembered how he bothered me when I was on a business trip for a week, asking what I was doing. For the first time, I understood his thoughts. I'm too slow to warm up, always a step behind in sensing the other person's thoughts. I want to have a good talk with him, but before I could find time to talk with him, Zhou Yuan changed his number and sent me a photo. Qingyang was laughing happily with a girl in a coffee shop. In an instant, unease welled up in my heart. He had told me in the morning he was meeting a friend. Zhou Yuan sent a message. See, all men are the same. I don't know why he's sending these messages. He keeps sending more photos one after another. He said, guess what? Will he come home tonight? I blocked and deleted him. 16. Sitting at home, I hesitantly asked Qingyang what he was doing. He replied quickly, having dinner with friends. In the end, I still couldn't bring myself to ask, when will you be back? Around 10 p.m., then I'll wait until 10 p.m. Time ticked by as I sat anxiously waiting on the sofa. By 11 o'clock, Qingyang still hadn't returned, not even sending a single message. Zhou Yuan called me using a different phone. See, didn't I tell you all men are the same? But I don't understand what his intention was in doing this. So what if Qingyang really betrays me? If he betrays me, then I'll just break up with him and move on to the next one. It's that simple. I will never lose the courage to try just because I get hurt. When the girl who used to like Zhou Yuan told me he wasn't good enough for me, My first instinct was doubt. He's kind, good-hearted, and has countless virtues. How could he not be good enough for me? Now looking back objectively at these 2 years I spent taking care of him, he had a bad temper and was self-destructive, unwilling to try despite having access to the most advanced medical equipment. Now he even wants to drag me down into his self-destruction. He really doesn't deserve me. I waited at home until 1 a.m. Qingyang still didn't come back. But why was I waiting? Why should I trust Zhou Yuan's words instead of going to ask myself why should matters between the two of us involve Zhou Yuan's interference? I put on my coat and pushed open the door. Just as I went downstairs, I happened to run into Qingyang from our building. 17. He got out of the car, and a girl was sitting in the back seat, the same one from the photo. Seeing me, he suddenly seemed flustered and called my name to explain. 1-1. I got back a little late. The woman in the car also noticed me and waved at me. The car was about to leave, but I stopped it just before it drove away. The driver scolded me for not knowing the danger, so I knocked on the car window. A woman revealed a pretty face and asked me, "What's wrong?" I asked her, "Are you Qingyang's first love?" Hearing this, she flusteredly explained, "You're Qing Yang's current girlfriend, right? Don't misunderstand. I'm just here on a business trip." I interrupted her. "Yes or no?" Qingyang realized I was angry and leaned in to explain anxiously. "There was traffic, so I came back a bit late." He said 10 p.m., but now it's 1 a.m. "Does traffic really jam for several hours?" I asked again. "Yes or no?" "Yes." During our relationship, Qingyang never told me about this first love from beginning to end. Some people might not mind, but I do. I broke up with Qingyang on the spot. The girl panicked and got out of the car to try to persuade me, following behind me sentence after sentence. "I didn't mean to disturb you. We just happened to run into each other. Qingyang was also traveling here, so we had a meal together. We really didn't do anything. You can check the surveillance footage." The more she talked, the more unmoved I remained. In the end, it was Qingyang who spoke up. "Shut up." She stood there at a loss, and Qingyang stopped to say to her, "You go ahead first." He watched the girl leave, then turned around to catch up with me, following me home and blocking the door to prevent me from entering. "We need to talk." I looked up at him and said, "No need anymore." When I agreed to date him, I made it clear that both of us should be honest with each other. I told him everything in detail, yet he hid the fact about his first love and concealed having meals with her. I'm not made of wood. I only chose to act like wood because I was with him the first time. I only dared to gently press and knead while he was asleep. I choose to turn a blind eye to others' kindness and respond with indifference. Let's just break up, then. 18. This relationship was announced quickly and ended just as swiftly. When friends asked me to bring Qingyang along, I openly said, "We broke up." My friends sighed in sympathy, then immediately tried setting me up with someone new. I still refused. I'm still holding out for someone genuine. If that person doesn't exist, I'd rather be alone. Zhou Yuan's mother still calls me, begging me to go see Zhou Yuan. I still didn't agree, sent her all the recipes and prescriptions, and booked a flight back to my hometown. This time I didn't miss the flight, and Qingyang was sitting beside me when I took my seat. He smiled with crescent eyes and said to me, "Sis, we didn't miss each other this time." But he doesn't even want to understand why I'm angry. He just blindly wants to make up with me. I was wrong. Let's make up. Forgive me. Let's be good again. He kept repeating these words over and over. Back when he pursued me, he would overanalyze every punctuation mark I used, but now he can't even be bothered to give a proper explanation. What's more, I repeatedly